lahat. We'll call this hearing to order. Once again, good morning to everyone, and thank you for coming here to the Senate. Before we continue, let me direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our resource persons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our resource persons. For the public hearing on proposed Senate Resolution number 925, or the implementation of Republic Act number 8545, entitled Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act, or E-GASPE, would like to acknowledge our resource persons. From the Department of Education, we have ASEC Francis Cesar Bringas, Assistant Secretary for Operations, and Attorney Tara C. Rama, Director 3 of the Government Assistance and Subsidies Office. From the Private Education Assistance Committee, or PEAC, we have the Executive Director, Ms. Rodora Angela Ferrer, together with Mr. Roderick Edsel Malonzo. From the Ministry of Basic, Higher, and Technical Education in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or MBHTE BARMM, we have Director Johnny G. Balawag. From the Bureau of Basic Education, Mr. Jordan Pangilan, Chief of the Planning Division, and Ms. Margie Pendula, Chief of the Quality Assurance Division. From the Commission on Audit, we have Ms. Imelda Celso, Supervising Auditor of Cluster 5, Ms. Regan B. Veloso, Ms. Melanie Julie R. Salazar, Ms. Giselle Levy Trinidad, Ms. Ruby Caballes, and Mr. Erwin Liave. From the Commission on Higher Education, we have Ms. Edna Imelda Legaspi of the Office of Student Development and Services, Ms. Yvonne De Vera, and Ms. Jocelyn Balanag. From the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, we're still waiting for AED Maria Gracia de la Rama and Mr. Froilan Gial. From the Second Congressional Commission on Education, we're still waiting for the Executive Director, Dr. Carol Mark Arlene. From the Coordinating Council of Private Educational Associations, or COCOPEA, we have the chairperson, Father Albert N. Delvo, PhD, together with Attorney Christine Carmina Manaog and Ms. Sharina Claustro. And last but not the least, we're still waiting for the representative of PBED, which is Ms. Marie Genevieve Bautista. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ComSec. Today we'll be tackling Senate Resolution, PS Resolution 925, authored by yours truly. And the title of this resolution, a resolution directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation to discuss and assess the implementation of Republic Act number 8545, entitled Expanded Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education Act, E-GASPE for short, as amended, for the purpose of crafting complementary or amendatory legislation. So this is the topic that we'll be discussing today. And we are very privileged to be joined by one of our hardworking senators, Senator Raffy Tulfo. Good morning,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Chair. Good morning po.
So today we'll be tackling this resolution focusing on E-GASPE. And GASPE is one of the biggest programs of the Department of Education. Just to show you a slide. Just on 2024 alone, the government allocated, hold on, there. Just on 2024 alone, the government allocated close to about 40.5 billion pesos. That represents about 5.3% of the total DepEd budget. So this is a significant chunk of the total budget of DepEd. But if you look at the past 10 years, the allocation for GASPE has grown. In 2016, the allocation is about 21.2 billion. It hovered around 20 billion for the last 8 years. Then it shot up to about 53 billion in 2023. In 2024, it remained at 40 billion. So it's a significant chunk of DepEd's budget. And the direction of GASPE is to operationalize and to improve complementarity between the private and public education. But throughout the implementation of GASPE, this representation read in some news reports that there are a lot of controversies as well as issues surrounding the implementation of GASPEs. In some of the news articles, they were pinpointing that it didn't benefit poor students. There are also ghost beneficiaries that hounded the implementation of GASPE. And in a 2018 report, go to the next slide, by COA, it also specified in very great detail some of the issues, problems, and even gathered through investigation and through audits in the implementation of GASPE. And we'd like to give credit to COA because in our review, we reviewed all the documents surrounding GASPE. Document is the first and only performance review of GASPE after it was implemented, I think almost 20 years, no? If I'm not mistaken, for a very long time, no? For a very long time. So this is the only document that was produced to evaluate the implementation of GASPE. And I'd like to commend COA for spearheading this performance review. So today we would like to hear from the Department of Education some updates on the implementation of GASPE. We have to talk about the issues surrounding GASPE, whether it's from the news reports and also from the COA report, and also how the Department of Education is addressing those issues, especially from the COA report. The COA report is very extensive. I read the COA report, and it also made some recommendations. And that, again, give credit to COA because it's not only a performance review, but they also specified in great detail recommendations on how to move forward. So we want to understand also from DepEd on how they implemented those recommendations. And also, we also want to understand from DepEd if there are proposed amendatory legislation. Personally, I also saw some gaps in the law. And this representation is also thinking of filing some amendatory legislation to improve and to make the implementation GASPE as clear as possible, and also put a sense to the direction on where we want GASPE to go forward. So we'll start off with an update and a presentation from the Department of Education. And like I said, COA is the only agency that produced a performance evaluation. So we want to hear from them some pointers or some of the issues that they came across during their performance evaluation. And we'll also call on our other resource persons who are related to the implementation of GASPE. So we'll start off with DepEd. But before that, I would like to hear an opening statement, if there are any opening statements from our colleague, Senator Raffo.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Senator Gatchalian, thank you so much for the resolution that you filed, resolution number 925. Ito po ay nagko-coincide doon sa information and complaints that I received Friday, wherein several parents and students pumunta po sa akin para ireklamo yung hindi pagbayad ng DepEd ng subsidy dun sa mga estudyante sa senior high na gusto pong mag-enroll sana sa state colleges pero naharang po yung subsidy nila. Kaya hindi po ayaw i-release ng mga eskwelahan yung kanilang grade 11 card, which is a requirement to be enrolled in a state college. And I called the attention of DepEd, and of course to the credit of DepEd, papasalamatan ko po yung kausap ko noon sa DepEd na si Attorney Tara. I think it was you that I talked to, and thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I've heard na action na yung problema nila, maka-enroll na yung mga estudyante. Okay, thank you. But the issue here is, sana, Mr. Chair, maimbitahan din natin itong mga eskwelahan na sangkot allegedly sa mga anomalya ng mga ghost students. And I think it's being investigated by DepEd right now, particularly this school na Saint Michael Archangel Technological Institute Incorporated. Am I right, Attorney Rama? And it's good management of this school. Kasi there are 900 students na subsidized by DepEd under this GASP budget. And yet, most of these students that are still receiving budget or receiving subsidy are no longer in the list or graduate na or dapat hindi tumatanggap. I think that is being investigated by DepEd. And later siguro, you need to tell us ano na nangyari dun sa ginagawa niyong investigation. And also, bakit palaging delayed ang pagbabayad niyo sa mga subsidy ng mga estudyante? And that's part of the complaint we receive from different students who are beneficiaries of GASP. Mabagal daw ang pag-release ng kanilang subsidy sa mga schools. And I have a lot more questions later, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo. So just to reiterate to DepEd, in the resolution as well as through the manifestation of Senator Tulfo, we want to talk about and discuss the issues surrounding the GHOST beneficiaries or GHOST students. And then number two, we also want to discuss the performance evaluation of COA and also moving forward their recommendations. And then number three, the issue of delayed release of subsidy to schools and also to students. So we'll tackle that today after the presentation of DepEd. So to start off, let's start off with an overview on the implementation of GASP, considering that 40 billion has been allocated only for this year. Last year was 53 billion. So we'll start off with the some updates from DepEd, and then we'll go to discuss those three items that were raised by Senator Tulfo. So we call on Attorney Tara.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning also, Senator Raffy. We thank the Senate Committee on Basic Education for having this public hearing, and we also thank, of course, our partners from the Commission on Audit for the performance report. Just a quick update po, Senator, Mr. Chair. Based on the COA audit performance report, it was suggested by the COA that a dedicated office in the central office of the Department of Education should be created to administer and to monitor the implementation of the program. Please be informed that before the administration of VP Sara, it was only like a unit that processes the bills only, Mr. Chair. So wala po doon yung monitoring, wala din po doon yung implementation ng program. So it was really just the billing. And so I'm happy to report po as with that COA recommendation, the Government Assistance and Subsidies Office was created last year. So for this year po, Senator, ang atin pong talagang natutukan na billings na binigay sa atin ng mga private school is the one in school year 2023-2024. And to address, pahapyaw lang po ng address no, ng ating question ni Senator Tulfo about the delayed in the release of the subsidies, it's actually because we provided another layer po of verification in the central office. What is this verification? This verification po is when we receive the billings of the private schools, we actually do a run or binabangga po natin yung billing statements nila na ito po yung learners nila na binibill na nasa private school between our learner information system and the LIS po, no? So ang LIS po natin, dun po natin nalalaman kung sino po talaga ang mga current enrolled sa kanilang school. So that also caused that delay because this is the first time that we're doing it in the central office. So I think na-delay po tayo ng around more 2 to 3 weeks po for that verification, Senator. So yun po, ang isa po yun. Number two, I think our partner also in the Private Education Assistance Committee can also shed light on the delay because I know for their end, meron din po silang hinohold na mga billings due to documentary requirements na hindi po na-submit ng mga schools. So those are the only times that we have delayed in the billing, Mr. Chair. So yun po. What other things? I think yun lang po as a quick, and then we can also. Okay, for the budget utilization of our current fund po, Mr. Chair, we're already at 97% po ng ating utilization because some of the schools na lang po, ito lang po yung hinihintay natin, billings from the regional office, and then of course in our partner in PEAC na hinihintay pa po natin yung billings nila na ma-receive natin sa central office so that we can verify again and then pay them. So again po, as of now, nasa 97% na po yung utilization natin sa budget. Okay. For the teachers subsidy po, Senator, Mr. Chair, we are starting to receive the billings of the schools this February po. So ongoing pa din po yung processing natin dyan. So yun po, Mr. Chair, Ms. Senator.
We'll start off with the delay. No? What is the offshoot of the delay? For example, when you say delay, it's the schools that are being paid, diba? Okay.
That's right, Mr. Chair. The
So-
schools are being paid directly to their bank accounts po yun.
Okay. And if
Mr.
there
Sen.
is, if there are delays, who will bear the brunt of those delays? Will the students still be allowed to go to school?
Yes, Mr. Senator, Mr. Chair, sorry. It's the school actually, they're nagrereklamo po sila kasi parang sinasabi po nila wala na po silang ipapasweldo ng teachers, but it's not the ano po talaga the learners. So yun po yung makakapag-attend pa naman po sila ng school and there's no any disturbances po when it comes to the classes when the schools are not able to bill or to be paid.
And then how long is the delay? You mentioned earlier 2 to 3 weeks.
On
Is
top
it-
of the current po natin na processing time po yun, Senator Win. So example, when we received the billings last October, kasi doon po yung nag-start po na na-receive ng central office yung billings nila, we were able to pay them mga nasa second week of November po, Senator.
But are there delays that go beyond a school year? I
There
can
are
hear
delays.
some murmurs here from our
Oo.
private school
Wait.
saying no, so that's good actually. No, but just to put on record, are there delays that go beyond one
Sige.
school year?
If
I know it's
the
a voucher program.
oo. For those schools and billings na
We're
wala
talking
po,
about ESC here, diba?
Yeah.
No?
kahit po sa SHSVP naman po, Senator,
I
so
think
long
prior years may
as
mga delay because of the school cut-off. I
school
think
cut off, correct.
that has been rectified.
That's
You
already been
respond.
rectified,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Senator. We did is hindi na po kami nag-two tranches. We do the payment in one tranche.
Okay.
So one-time payment na po tayo. So that's one of
So may
the
mga nadidelay ba that go beyond
may madidelay.
1 year, 1 school year?
Ako for me, Senator, hindi po madidelay ang isang billing ng isang school pag kompleto po yung requirements nila, no questions about their documentary requirements and no questions as well with the learners that they bill us with.
Yeah, assuming they bill you, everything's complete. Does government pay them 2 to 3 weeks after, or does it go beyond? Meron bang instances that go beyond 1 year?
Not beyond 1 year.
So walang 1 year.
Wala pong
No,
1
because
year.
my point there is the student will they be penalized if government will not pay the school on time? Pwede ba silang to finish their school, to get the test, to get the diploma, even though government is delayed in their payment? That's my point eh.
Okay, sige po. With that question of yours, Senator, there's just one case that we have. That's the one that being raised by Senator Tulfo, because the fact of the case is that there are learners who were already starting their grade 11 education in SMATI. So doon po sila nag-start, and then there was a resolution from the Department of Education through the regional office po that there have been violations na na-commit ng isang school, but these are not voucher related po na violations, no? But however, the penalty there is that the SMATI or that school, St. Michael, is no longer allowed to receive the any financial assistance or programs of the department. So that's why po, sir, in that case, the Department of Education through the regional office helped in transferring all other students po no sa other participating voucher ng mga schools. So ito lang po yung instance na delay po, Senator, because we had to counter check nga po yung mga na bill na ni SMATI. Actually, they were already billed, but hindi lang po namin nabayaran dahil nga po meron pong lumabas na desisyon. So this took time lang talaga, Mr. Chair, to validate the list. So I guess this is the only time na even if nag-bill si SMATI kasi hindi pa po nakabill yung pinag-transferan nila na school, that's why dito lang po talaga na-delay tayo. But all others po, pag okay po yung learners nila na binigay, wala po tayong delay that goes beyond a year po, Mr.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
can I ask a question? Tama nga naman po yung sinasabi ni Attorney Rama. And based dun sa complaints na I received Friday, yung SMATI, meron talagang violation dito at nasuspindi pa ata SMATI, ano?
Yes,
Yeah, for certain violations. And to mention, yun yung violation sa health protocol during pandemic.
correct.
Number two, walang occupancy permit sa building.
Yes,
Number three, nag-advertise tracks courses na walang permit from DepEd.
correct.
And then number four, tungkol dun sa mga ghost, supposedly students na wala na sa listahan pero sila ay nagbibill pa rin tuloy-tuloy, something like that. So my question to you now, Attorney, ano na po nangyari sa ginagawa investigation ng DepEd pertaining dito sa mga violations ng St. Michael, Archangel?
We would also, I think, mapapaliwanag din po ito no ng ating partner in the Private Education and Assistance Committee, because they're the ones really going to the schools and double checking yung mga learners. So they have recommended the termination. However, yun po, ini-investigate pa rin po din natin dito sa Department of Education kasi especially na hindi na lang po ito suspension, Senator Tulfo. This is already a termination from
So
the
right now, ano po
voucher
status ng eskwelahan ng St. Michael?
system.
Ongoing pa rin pagtatanggap ng enrollments ng students? Are they still allowed?
Yes po, they're still allowed until that we will be providing the decision to terminate po, Senator.
So once they're terminated, ano mangyari po sa mga estudyante? Saan po sila transfer?
Ang gagawin po natin, Mr. Senator, so that the students will not be disenfranchised, doon po yung mga naka-enroll na po. Ang termination po natin from their participation in the voucher program will be on the looking forward po coming year. So for example, if they still have grade 12 or grade 11 na voucher recipient, tapos nagbigay po tayo ng decision to terminate them, patatapusin po natin muna yung G11 and G12 po nila na students so that they will not be disenfranchised. And then, for example, we will start the termination in school year 2025-2026 para po hindi po maano po yung mga bata, madidisturbo po, kagaya po ng nangyari po.
Is it possible, Attorney Rama, na i-require niyo po lahat ng eskwelahan na nakatanggap ng subsidy galing sa GASP, ilagay nila sa kanilang website kung sino-sino yung mga recipients and then babanggain dun sa website ninyo nang sa gayon maimpormahan yung publiko para kung sabihin ng estudyante, teka muna, ba't nasa listahan pa rin ako, nagbibill pa rin ng eskwelahan, graduate na ako, wala na ako dyan.
Mm.
Diba? Or bakit nakita ko sa DepEd na tumatanggap si Juan, si Pedro na supposed to be hindi na dapat o wala naman talagang Juan at Pedro na tumatanggap ng subsidy from GASP.
Sige
So
po.
can you do that? Require
yes,
all schools?
We will look
At-
into that, Senator po. Tingnan po din natin if we will not be violating anything, no? But if ever wala po tayo ma-violate for whatever data privacy po, we will be adopting your recommendation, Senator.
Pero sa tingin mo, may data privacy ba yun? Somebody accepting, receiving subsidy from the government, is that something na magkakaroon tayo ng violation sa batas? Palagay nyo?
I have to double check
Okay.
po, Senator, Mr.
Pero
Senator.
para
please.
saan kasi makakaiwas yan kahit papaano?
Yes, that's right
Eh,
po.
Yung bang magkakaroon ng anomalya na yung mga estudyante na hindi dapat nakakatanggap ng subsidy, nakakatanggap, binibil ng eskwelahan na hindi dapat. Kasi kung nasa listahan niya, Mr. Chair, makikita ng mga estudyante na hindi naman ako tumatanggap pa, ba't ako binibil pa rin? Or makikita ng mga kaibigan o kasamahan, mga classmate, uy, nasa listahan ka pala ng tumatanggap ng subsidy sa gobyerno, hindi naman ata totoo yan. So magreklamo estudyante o yung magulang.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator.
The point of Senator Tulfo, and I agree with him to improve the transparency mechanisms. I think we have to be very proactive in terms of transparency, using technology like websites. Now you have a dedicated office. That's a good move, and that's in line with the recommendation of COA. However, office is just one physical structure. No? What we need to improve on is transparency, information being shared to the public so that the public is also part in terms of guarding public funds as well as making sure that the program is in line with its direction. No? So just submit to the committee some of your ideas on how to improve transparency and when do you plan to implement those, no? Including the recommendation of Senator Tulfo to publish the names of students and schools.
That is noted po, Senator
Yeah,
Venables.
go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we note of your recommendations. The department is currently in its final phase of establishing the Matatag portal, which will carry all relevant information, that can be shared to the public. But currently, we have the LIS that contains all the list of learners in both public and private, but it is not made public because of all the information that is placed there. But with the Matatag portal, we will see how we can include some information in the LIS that would include the list of learners in each of the schools, whether public or private. We will try to incorporate that in our portal, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Kailangan konsultahin niyo rin siguro yung legal team ninyo kung walang mababiolate na batas. Pero ang sa akin naman, ilalagay mo lang yung pangalan at eskwelahan. Wala na siguro yung mga personal information kung sino magulang, kung ano pa na medyo mababiolate na yung tinatawag natin data privacy law. Siguro yung pinaka-basic lang na para sa kaalaman ng mga estudyante na nakakatanggap, para sa kaalaman ng publiko na ito pala mga estudyante ito ay scholar o nakakatanggap ng subsidies. Now, meron order ang COA. Nandito ba yung COA? Do we have a member of the Commission on Audit? Meron po kayong order sa DepEd na magbuo ng composite team to monitor itong GASP program. Nag-comply na po ba ang DepEd?
COA, you may respond.
Hello, good morning, Committee Chair Gatchalian and Vice Chair Rapi Tulfo, and good morning to all colleagues from the different government agencies. So I'm Erwin Llabe, the co-team leader during the performance audit of the GASP program in 2018. So as regards to the recommendation to convene a GASP composite team that will manage the GASP program handled by the DepEd. So they issued several DepEd orders for the establishment of various offices in line with our recommendation, but we have yet to evaluate or validate whether these offices are functioning as intended. But they have issued the necessary DepEd orders for the establishment of these offices.
So wala pa rin pong nabubuong composite.
Based po sa ano din na-mention po ni Attorney Rama, they already created the offices po. Actually, 2020 pa yung mga 2021 and 2022 po na create yung mga offices and units na related sa GASP po, and yun nga po, we have yet to validate whether these offices are functioning as intended po. Thank you po.
For more question, Mr. Chair. Bakit bumaba po yung budget sa voucher program? From 39 billion in 2023, ngayon bumagsak 2024 sa 26.3.
I think that is only for the different po kasi yung mga subsidy programs natin, Senator Tulfo. We have the ESC, the Education Service Contracting, which has a budget of around, if I'm not mistaken, 11 or 12 billion. And then the ESC po as SHSVP is around 25 million. And then the Joint Delivery Voucher Program is around 1 billion. Siguro, Senator Tulfo, yung nakita niyo po na 26, baka it's just a part of that 3 programs. Siguro po, I would like to explain na lang po no, yung nakita niyo po na mataas na program budget in 2023, which is 53 billion. Tapos bumaba po tayo ng 40 billion. So the 53 billion actually is the payment for previous years. Kasi kung makita niyo din po dito sa program budget natin, we had a budget cut in 2018. So there were schools, especially, ito pa pala ang additional na, there were schools na hindi po na natin nabayaran because of the budget cut in 2018. So that's why tinaas po na ng DBM, binigyan po tayo ng mas mataas na budget nung 2023 po at 53. So yun po yung parang previous payment po ng billings.
Mr. Chair, another question. Okay, since the implementation of this program, at sabi nyo nga po nagbubuo na kayo ng unit per order of the COA to monitor GASP. Ilan na po ang nakita nyong may eskwelahan na nagbabiolate o may violation tungkol po sa GHOST program na dapat hindi naman nabibigyan ng subsidy pero nakakatanggap pa rin? At ano pong nangyari doon sa mga eskwelahan na yon? At ilan po yung mga estudyante na nakita nyo po na wala dapat sa listahan pero nakakatanggap pa rin ng subsidy?
What okay. To place things in the proper perspective, Senator, when we came in no sa GASO in 2023, what we did po with the billings, binabangga po namin yun sa learner information system. So yun pong hindi po same po sa learner information system, hinuhold po namin yung bill, pero yung mga ibang estudyante po na okay naman po, binabayaran po natin. When it comes to naman po yung talagang pagpupunta sa baba po sa mga schools, we have our partner po in the Private Education Assistance Committee. They're the ones po kasi yung co-manager natin dito sa
Ma'am,
programa.
sorry, ang tanong ko po, ilan na po yung mga na-flag down ninyo as ghost students?
Okay. I think I'll ask po ED Doris also for
And
that
then follow-up question,
information.
ilan na pong eskwelahan ang na-flag down din nyo na doing this? I think isa dyan yung St. Michael. At ano na pong status dun sa mga ginagawang investigation against these schools?
Sige po.
Ma'am
ED
Pere?
Doris.
Go ahead,
yes.
ED
Mr.
Doris.
Thank you. Good morning, Senator Gatchalian and Senator Tulfo. Insofar as the question is concerned, so as for SMATI specifically, their billing documents for school year 23-24, the current school year, are on hold because we've really not settled the matter as to the validity of all the grantees that are in the billing document. We also have recommended SMATI for termination effective school year 24-25. And so that is something that the DepEd is deciding on in a meeting which they will conduct very soon. And a while ago, there were questions about what happens to the students if the school is terminated. The voucher is, it can actually be brought to another school. In other words, it's portable. So at the end of grade 11, if a student is from SMATI, he can move to another school for the balance of the senior high voucher program. In fact, that is true for both ESC and the voucher program. The grant is portable, so they can always go to the more, quality-driven participating schools. So for the last 3 years, so far this is just the data that we have. We've terminated 22 voucher participating schools in school year 2021. In 21-22, we terminated,
Ma'am, if I can butt in, ang tanong ko po kasi,
ilan po?
ilan po ang na-flag down nyo na mga ghost students?
Ah.
At ano po ang ilan eskwelahan ang nagbibill sa inyo para sa mga ghost students nila? Yun ang tanong ko muna.
As Senator Tulfo, pwede po namin kayong bigyan ng 10-year report, inaayos po namin. Pero okay, ganito
you
po ang
acknowledge the
nangyayari.
existence of
Opo.
ghost students
Actually,
in this
ghost
project.
students kasi, the term ghost is rather difficult to define. Pero when we go to a school and we see na merong mga grantees na hindi tamang naibill, we tell the school about it. You have a problem, you have to refund. And they actually refund DepEd if you're talking about a few
Correct.
students
So the
due to
fact,
clerical errors.
thank you,
Yung
ma'am.
malalaking problema, sir,
Ma'am,
ito yung
sandali,
mga
ma'am,
for
makasingit.
termination.
Okay, the fact that they did a refund,
Yeah.
so it's an admission na meron silang violation.
Yes, sir.
So ano po yung ginawa ng DepEd dito sa mga eskwelahan na na-flag down nyo na nagbibill na hindi dapat, and so inadmit nila yung kanilang kasalanan, so nag-refund sila. Hanggang doon lang, refund lang, wala kayong gagawing pagsasampa ng kaso or paghahabol sa kanila? Dahil sa violation
Pinag-usapan na ho namin yan with DepEd Legal. The USEC for Legal is USEC Omar. And they're also looking in that direction. Lalo na po yung sobrang dadami ng estudyante na talagang may problema. Yung iba kasi pwede nating maisip na clerical error. For example, yung isang eskwelahan na nakapag-submit ng pangalan ng mga estudyante, yung pala yung bata, hindi naman nag-30 days sa eskwelahan. Nag-drop out. Pero pumasok ang pangalan niya sa billing. Yung ganun, nagre-refund ho yan. Basta nagkamali.
Alright, ang tanong ko nga po, yung bang ilan na ang mga estudyante na pumasok sa programa na hindi dapat, kaya nga itong mga eskwela na ito nag-refund sa inyo. Kasi kung isa, dalawa, pwede natin sabihin clerical error, pero kung 10, 20, 50, hindi na clerical error po yan, ma'am.
Tama po yan. Kaya po kung mahigit 10 yan, we move towards suspension.
Kaya nga po,
then
ang
kung
tanong ko,
more than
ilan
that-
na po sa listahan ninyo na yung mga bilang ng mga estudyante na nabayaran po ng GASP na hindi dapat, and
Okay.
it led to the
Sige
school
po. Or
giving you refund?
thank you, sir. Nandito po kasi yung monitoring officer natin. Yung mga eskwelahan na may issues from school year 2020-21 to 22-23. So this covers 3 school years. Sa voucher program, 12,675. Sa ESC, 588.
12,000 yung mga estudyante
Apo, na may issues.
na may issues.
Apo,
So-
sa 3 school years.
So hindi na po clerical error yan. Would you agree? Kasi
Yung iba
thousands
hong
of people.
issues, clerical. Kasi this is spread over several schools.
I know.
Meron hong mga eskwelahan na high performing, may 2, 3.
So
Magre-refund
how
ka
much
agad.
refund na ang natanggap po ng DepEd from these schools na mali po yung naging billing nila para sa GASP program? Do we have the numbers of the students na napilitan yung school na magbigay ng refund? And then the
We're-
number of students?
We're computing it po,
Okay.
Senator, but we have it.
And
Kasi
then,
po, ang mekanismo natin, ang isang eskwelahan, hindi makakapag-bill next school year kapag hindi mo naayos ang current school year mo.
yes ma'am. So, yun nga po. So, meron tayong bilang ng mga estudyante, you said 12,000 something. And out of this 12,000 na mga na-flag down ninyo, na maling billing, sabihin na natin maling billing, at it led to the school giving a refund. Nag-interview ba kayo sa ilan sa mga estudyante? Kahit na random, kasi alam ko 12,000, that's too many. Hindi nyo kayang kausap lahat yan. Para malaman ko anong naging problema, bakit sila nasama doon sa listahan na hindi dapat.
Opo, nagtanong ho kami kahit sa mga eskwelahan. Isa sa pinakamalaking naging concern natin ay yung mga ALS completers na nagiging voucher recipients. dahil idinideklara sila ng kanilang mga eskwelahan na voucher eligible, na pwede naman nating paniwalaan na talagang may pangangailangan yung mga bata, ngunit hindi sila pumasok sa voucher application, which is yun ang tamang guideline. In other words, kung ALS completer ka, hindi ka automatically eligible. Dapat nag-apply ka. Kaso hindi pala sila nag-apply, pero idinideclare sila ng mga eskwelahan nila na voucher recipients. Now, very clear ho ito sa guidelines ng DepEd.
So was that intentional on the part of the school?
Kung mahigit 10 ho yan, when we evaluate it, siguro ho, pwede nating sabihin na
So
may
meron talaga
problema
problema sa school.
talaga.
So ano pong ginagawa ng DepEd para maiwasan na pumaulit yung ganong klaseng anomalya? I would call it an anomaly because
Yes,
that's by
opo.
the thousands
Yung-
na hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na clerical error pa rin.
Opo. Salamat, Senator Tulfo. No? Yung pinapaliwanag nga ni Atty. Tara kanina, this year, kaya bumagal ang processing dahil parehong naghigpit ang PAC at ang DepEd. From our end this year, lahat ng mga eskwelahan, pinag-submit namin ng documents bago naming tanggapin ang billing statements nila, just so we can be sure that the students are eligible. DepEd did the same. It validated against the LIS these same students. Kaya ho this year medyo mahigpit tayo. We hope na hindi na mangyari yung mga nangyari in the past. We also have been proposing since 2019 because it came out in the performance audit na yung senior high voucher program po natin, nagkakaproblema tayo dahil hindi ho nako-quality assure ang mga providers. In other words, unlike in ESC na mas konti ho ang ating mga problema because the schools are certified by the PAC. For the voucher program, wala hong ganong certification. Basta meron silang provisional permit from DepEd at may dumating na bata na voucher eligible, pwede na ho silang maging participant sa voucher program.
Nabanggit niyo po na, pakiulit ulit the exact number, 12,000.
12,675.
775. Okay. So gusto ko lang po maging klaro, ito po yung mga estudyante
Na may issues.
na may issues.
Apo.
Defined issues po.
Yun na nga po. Kasi kanina yung ghost, kasi ho, laging sinasabi ng mga eskwelahan pag nagagalit ho sa amin, totoong bata sila. So hindi sila ghost. Nandun ho kami, totoong bata sila. Pero hindi sila eligible based on the guidelines.
Mhm.
Yun ho ang, kaya nga sabi ko medyo mahirap sabihin yung ghost. Dahil hindi ho sila makakabill kung wala sila sa LIS. So in other words, validated na may LRN ang batang yan, estudyante sila.
Kaya nga po, ang nangyari kasi, sinong nagtawag ng ghost? Kasi ito yung nakarating na sa akin ng complaint. Where did it
Ah.
come from?
In the past ho kasi ginagamit yung term na yan but very recently with the LIS, naging
Sa mga
oo.
co-report. Now, so itong 12,675 na may issue ng mga estudyante, ano po ang status? Lahat po ba ito of course not the student will refund you, but the school. So lahat po ba itong 12,675 na ibalik na, and how much this amounted to?
We still have an unrefunded 239 million.
239 million as of
School year 22-23.
22-23.
The cases are ongoing. Kaya ho meron tayong for termination na recommendation na 32 na voucher participating schools.
So magkano na po yung nakolekta na refund? And magkano po yung outstanding ulit? You said yung hindi pa uncollected pa is 239.
Opo, 239. Kasi po minsan ho nag-a-appeal yung eskwelahan na totoo naman yung bata. Mga ganun
Okay.
pong kaso.
So meron ho ba kayong target date na kailan malinis na itong
Before
institution niyo at
before the
ang pera?
opening of school year 24-25. Kasi ho yung mga unrefunded dito, sila ho yung nire-recommend natin for termination. Kaya nga kami nasa, kumbaga parang stalemate Dahil hindi sila nagbabayad, hindi rin kami nag-a-allow ng billing.
Ito pong 12,675 mga estudyante na may issue, magkano po ang total nito? In terms po sa pesos na naibigay.
About
na-release po.
300 million daw po.
300
Ang
million?
value kasi ng voucher, iba-iba kasi yung amount, no? Kaya medyo hindi mo ma-multiply yung number of students
So,
with a round figure.
Opo. So, kailan niyo po na-plug down itong 12,775, ma'am?
The monitoring activities of the PAC actually happen between Feb to March of every school year.
Every year.
Every year po
Okay,
yan. We
that's good.
monitor about 10% of
Good.
the participating schools. Targeted ho yan. Yung mga dati nang nagkakaso, uulitan namin sila
Okay.
ng
So,
in-person
ma'am, kung titingnan natin
monitoring.
yung figure, 300 million yung original amount at ang collected is 239. Medyo mabagal po ata ang ating aksyon.
Ah,
Kasi babawas mo to 300 minus 239, which is outstanding pa, parang 40 million lang. O 41 million pa lang ang nakukolekta ninyo.
ah, sige po, Senator Tulfo, we will accelerate that process. Yung iba ho kasi talaga nag-a-appeal, no, na
Oh,
kumbaga,
61 million pa pala ang nakukolekta. 61 million pa lang ang nakukolekta ninyo out of 300 million based sa sinabi nyo. So, mabagal po. Kasi to think na every year po kata kayo nag-iimbestiga. I mean,
Oo.
every year. Sabi nyo kanina, every school
Opo.
year, nag-issue kayo ng report.
Opo.
At
Pero ang compelling ho kasi sa eskwelahan, hawak ho namin ang billing document nila ng current school year. In other words, hindi sila, nag-stop na ang pagbabayad sa mga eskwelahan na hindi
yes,
nagre-refund.
ma'am, that's very good. That's very good to note. Pero dapat ang gusto rin natin dito na mapapabilis po yung tapos ng investigation at para mabigay na yung pera na napunta sa mga eskwela na hindi dapat, yung refund kung tawagin po ninyo.
Opo.
Tama po?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, nandito ho ba yung CHED? Do you have any member of CHED? Right. I read an article sa isang newspaper na sinasabi ng CHED, ipapatigil na muna yung program ng PEAC kasi nga yung transition na ayos na. Am I right? Yung para sa mga senior high school na enrolled sa mga state colleges. Okay. Then, recently, there was an article na pina-extend ulit ng CHED. Parang binabawi niyo ang yung request. Why is that, ma'am?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Senator Tulfo. I am Edna Imelda Fernandez Legaspi from OSDS po, Office of Student Development and Services. In relation po doon sa issue ng senior high school na nakapaloob sa aming mga SUCs, allowed po kami to have senior high schools doon po sa mga SUCs na may mga laboratory schools. Those who have teacher education programs. As to the issue of not giving any more vouchers to senior high, naayos na po nila. I got a reminder from our executive director na nag-usap na po si DepEd at si CHED na for this school year ay wala pong mangyayaring freeze. Ibig sabihin po ipagpapatuloy muna ni DepEd ang pagbibigay ng vouchers for the senior high school students enrolled in our laboratory schools under SUCs. So yung issue po na ikakat na yung assistance ni DepEd ay hindi po muna matutuloy. As is status ko muna daw po, Mr. Senator, this year.
So, wala na po muna matatanggap.
Opo. I mean po,
GASP.
matatanggap pa rin po ng mga naka-enroll na senior high school sa SUCs yung
Okay.
assistance po from E-GASPE.
Oh, okay. Sige. Kasi kung para sa akin po, siguro kailangan din yung additional na lang na yung budget dun sa mga classrooms na ipopondo na lang. Kasi DepEd said it will take 20 years to cover these shortages dun sa mga classrooms. So ano po yung ginagawa nyo dun sa shortages ng mga classrooms? Siguro, hindi na siguro itong CHED, sorry. Medyo tapos na pala tayo sa CHED. Naintindihan ko na po yung explanation nyo. That's why hindi na po ako nakatingin sa inyo. Dito na po kasi punta naman tayo dito sa classroom. Kayo po, kaya nyo sagutin. Asek.
The congestion in the classrooms in the public schools, is that what
Opo.
you mean, Senator?
Opo, at saka parang kulang-kulang pa ata yung sa mga classroom. So ano pong ginagawa natin para madagdagan pa po yung budget para sa mga construction ng mga classroom?
Mr. Chair.
Decongest yung siksikan, sabi niyo po siksikan sa mga
Yes,
classroom.
Mr. Chair, every year we are proposing a budget allocation for capital outlay with the House, and normally ang nabibigay lang sa amin is a limited amount that would allow the department to build around 10,000 classrooms every year. That is only the budget allocated for us. And considering the increase in our enrollment every year, that's why we are looking at the private schools via the complementarity framework. That would be a good intervention to address our shortage in the classrooms. If you remember, Mr. Chair, during the hearing in August of 2023, Senator Win, you asked the department, me personally, to come up with a simple economics on whether it will be cheaper to invest in the or expanding the GASP or the voucher program and the ESC rather than build classrooms for 20 years and then we require this amount. And we actually submitted the study to your office in November of 2023. I hope your office received it. And in that study, Mr. Chair, we found in the analysis together with the ADB that it is really cheaper to be investing more on the private education. I mean, expanding the coverage of our GASP
So
rather
sa
than
nakita
build
niyo mas
classroom.
mura
So,
po yun. Yung
yes,
mag-invest kayo sa
that would
GASP
be-
versus, kasi the reason bakit nagkaroon tayo ng GASP para ma-decongest nga yung mga estudyante sa public school at mapunta sa private schools at yun is subsidize nyo. So sa ginawa niyo pong analysis studies na mas cheaper yun, na yung mga estudyante idadaan sa GASP program, mapunta sa private schools versus mag-create na lang tayo ng napakaraming classrooms. Yung billions at tanggap natin na pupunta din sa GASP, mag-create na lang tayo ng napakaraming classrooms at marami po may kinabang na mga estudyante, ma-decongest yung siksikan sa mga public schools.
Yes,
So gumawa kayo ng feasibility study, and can we see that feasibility study you did?
yes, it is already submitted to the committee chair, the office of Senator Win in November, Ms. Senator. And that is just a simple economics. A full comprehensive study would require a greater time, but we will be glad to be working with the committee in the conduct of such study. But it appears in the simple economics that we did with the ADB that it is cheaper to be investing
Okay,
in
if
the
it-
short term. It will be more. It would be cheaper, Mr. Chair.
COA, what's your reaction to that? It's cheaper, ba? Kasi COA noted that DepEd failed to provide enough data on the program's effects of the program decongesting public schools. I think meron kayong na-flag down tungkol dyan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Senator Tulfo. I'm Ruby Caballes from the Performance Audit of the Commission Audit. So just for a background, so we have three audit streams in the COA. We have the financial compliance and the performance. So the one who works on the DepEd books is our resident auditor. So just for clarification, the ghost students being mentioned before, I think the report given by the COA auditor of DepEd, they qualify the ghost employee as those as students with 2 LRN. So in our report, it's a duplicate. So they consider it the other one as ghost student. So sir, yun po yung clarification na sinasabi din ni ng PEAC na mahirap i-define yung ghost student. But in our report, sa COA report ng DepEd, yun po yung ghost na sinasabi nila na duplicate. So they consider the one as ghost na po siya. So for naman po doon sa construction po ng building, so I think we are not in the position today na sabihin na kung ano yung mas advantageous po.
Okay, in that case, meron akong question kay Asek Bringas. Sabi mo economic wise, kaya para sa inyo maganda ipagpatuloy nitong GASP versus magtayo tayo ng mga classroom. Magkano po yung budget ng GASP para doon sa subsidy ng mga estudyante versus magkano po yung halaga ng bawat classroom? At bawat classroom, ilang estudyante po ang ma-accommodate niyan? Pwede ba natin pagbabanggain? Dito makikita natin, basic mathematics lang to. Malalaman natin kung talagang mas cheaper yung pagpatuloy natin GASP program by the billions versus magtayo na tayo ng classroom na pwede natin budgetan, itatransfer natin sa pag-create ng mga classrooms.
Just
Siguro, magkano po muna ang isang classroom, sir?
Our classrooms, I think, are pegged at 2.5 to 5 million, depending on
Billion? 2.5?
million per
2.5
classroom. Per
2.5
classroom,
million per
Mr. Chair, if I am not
Ito po yung
mistaken.
average or standard.
Yes, that's the standard, Mr. Chair. But with regards to the analysis actually started or on the premise that we have.
Saan pa ako tapos? So 2.5 million per classroom. Ito yung average. Okay. Magkano po yung budget ng GASP dun sa subsidy ng mga estudyante para ma-decongest yung public school mapunta sa private school? How much is allocated to that?
I don't get your question, Mr.
The reason
Mr.
why we
Vice.
have this subsidy program ay para ma-decongest yung mga public schools.
Mm.
Di ba? And then ito mga estudyante na screen yun na karapat-dapat matulungan, mabigyan ng subsidy at matransfer sa private school, yun yung binabudgetan ng GASP, tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
How much is that budget for that?
The inputs, the basic input, Mr. Chair, I will check my data here.
Magkano?
It would be different for kinder to grade 6, and
No, doon
the
lang
high
po sa,
school.
wag na po sa elementary. Doon na po sa
Sa voucher.
sa voucher.
Mr. Chair and Ms. Senator, siguro po sa voucher, we have around 11 billion for ESC and SHSVP at around 25. So that's 36
36 billion.
billion po.
Okay. Ilan pong classroom ang makikreate ng 36 billion? Hindi kasi yung sinasabi niya for economic reason kaya nag-create sila ng GASP versus maglagay ng mga classroom. So gusto ko lang malaman magkano po yung sa 36.5 billion, ilang classroom po kayo mapapatayo nito?
Sige po, we will compute, Mr. Senator. But I think aside from the school building po kasi, Mr. Senator, kailangan pa din po nating i-incorporate po dyan yung gastos din po ng department when it comes to the teachers and
Kasi
the
sa GASP,
operations of
just
school.
the 36.5, meron pa ata dito yung teacher, labas pa yung mga teachers dito.
Kumbaga kasama na din po kasi natin.
Umiling si Mr. Yabe, tama? You agree with me, Mr. Erwin Yabe?
Kasi po
And-
di ba po yung
Ko?
teacher salary subsidy is a separate, may separate budget po tayo.
Thank you.
Bukod dun sa ESC.
Thank you, Mr.
contractual
Yabe.
benefit.
Appreciate that. So, as per COA, wag mo po isama dito yung sa subsidy sa mga estudyante, yung subsidy sa mga teacher, separate budget daw yan. Yan mismo yung COA.
Apo.
So, so
Yes.
itong 36 billion, ma'am, ulitin ko, 36.5, ilang classroom po kaya ang kayang i-construct nito?
Sorry, i-clear ko lang po din po na yung teacher salary subsidy is nakapasok na po siya sa ESC, sir. Doon po kasi siya natin china-charge yung ESC na budget. Nandun din po yung TSS. So incorporated na po talaga sa 36 billion din po yung mga sa teachers po natin. And
COA?
then,
COA, sorry mama. Tama ba? Total, andito na yung COA para magkaliwanagan tayo.
For now
sorry.
po, Senator Tulfo, yung data po kasi na nasa report namin is yung gross amount po ng GASP allocation. Nasa audit file po namin yung breakdown as to yung mga each programs as to ESC, Senior High School Voucher Program, TSS.
So magkano po lahat-lahat base po sa inyong record?
So for
base
now,
po-
wala po akong data masasabi, sir, na for TSS. Pero for the GASP allocation po kasi during our audit, yung 2012 to 2017, 86 billion po kasi yung budget allocation.
86 billion. So yung
For 2012 to 2017 po yan.
2012
Yes
to
po.
2017.
Yes po.
Teka muna, 2012.
Billion.
Maraming taon yan.
Yes po, yes.
Total GASP.
Yes po. Yes.
Okay. Sige. So anyway, yun lang po siguro, DepEd, Attorney Rama, gawa ho kayo ng computation. Magkano yung halaga ng isang classroom pag nag-build tayo? Ilang classroom ang mabibuild versus ilang estudyante ang naipapadala natin sa mga state colleges para mabigyan ng subsidy. Kasi yung sabi kanina ni ASIC bring us for economic reasons. Ngayon kung lumilitaw na mas mura nga talaga, pag pinadala sa state colleges, so be it. Pero kung lilitaw na mas mura kung dito na lang sa public school sila, mag-build natin mga classrooms at maraming makinabang at long term pa. Diba? Magkano yung, wala kayong computation? Okay.
Yes, in line with that, do you have your, it's good to put on record the submission or the study that you submitted to the committee and discuss the salient points of your study. No?
Okay.
What are the findings and the recommendations? No?
Yes,
So that we can put that on record. That's in line with the question of Senator Tulfo.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The report that was submitted to your office actually contains the analysis of whether analysis on addressing public school congestion, and it answers a question: which costs more? Is it to build 180,000 classrooms over a period of time, or is it cheaper to do direct provision of vouchers? So in the analysis, our classroom shortage that was reported was actually around 180,000, and in the 180,000, it is like we are going to spend around in a period of 30 years, that would benefit around 7.3 million students who are in excess of the in the public schools. So we actually worked on the ideal number of or class size that the 180,000 can actually accommodate. So we compared that against the direct cost if we are going to do direct payments for vouchers instead of building the classrooms. And in our study, it appears that, let me just check the amounts, Mr. Chair. So in a scenario, we compared really the basic education inputs, not just the classroom itself, but other basic inputs like seats, furniture, learners materials. We have teachers' salaries as well. And the above calculations, and based on the assumption that the number of students in excess of the public school capacity is constant at 7.3. So it appears that if we are going to build classrooms for 180,000 classrooms, that will be around 3.4 trillion. And a voucher program over the same period would cost like 2.6 trillion.
Excuse me,
Mr.
sir.
Chair.
I have records here coming from DepEd na shortage kayo as of last year ng 165,000 classrooms lang, hindi 180,000 as versus dun sa sinasabi nyo ngayon. So kung 165 classrooms na shortage nyo since last year na sinabi po ninyo, so at 2.5 per classroom in 10 years, that would amount to 412 billion. Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, Senator.
So kung i-add nyo po yan, magkano po yung budget, yung kaya nga. So 165 plus 412 billion. Ibabangga nyo po yan ngayon doon po sa programa ninyo sa GASP na kung saan yung mga estudyante nilipat sa mga state colleges. So sabi nyo, gumawa na kayong feasibility study, tumutugma ba dito sa sinasabi ko ngayon?
Mr. Chair, your computation is based on a classroom cost only. But what we are saying in our analysis is a classroom must be complete, not just the physical structure, but it should include seats, the teacher, the MOOE, laptop for teachers, and other instructional materials inside the classroom. So that was taken into consideration in the analysis, Mr. Chair, not just the construction of a classroom.
Pero
That is why we arrive at that particular amount.
Yes, sir. Pero even before that, meron naman talagang budget na para sa mga teachers. Kung magdagdag ng teachers, meron naman talaga budget yung bawat eskwelahan, meron talagang budget ang MOE, at meron naman kayong ginagawang computation na for that particular school for all their needs, right? May budget na para sa mga chalks at kung ano pa. So, is that something na pinagsama-sama nyo para at the end of the day, you came up with a figure na mas makatipid na malaki kapag yung dadaan tayo sa GASP, at magkano po yung matitipid nyo versus kung yung suggestion na lang po ng marami na magpatayo na lang ng mga classrooms, magkano po matitipid
We will be
on a yearly basis or
on a yearly
10 year,
basis.
yearly and then long-term
Okay,
after 10 years?
on a long term basis, based on our study, Mr. Chair, we will be okay. So the difference between 3.4 trillion and 2.6 trillion over that period of years, Mr. Chair.
Magkano po matitipid?
That would be 3.4 minus 2.6. That is around 14 minus 8, around 0.8 trillion, Mr. Chair.
0.8 trillion matitipid through the years.
Over the same period of a 30-year horizon, Mr. Chair. 30-year, we pegged it at 30-year horizon because that is the expected lifespan of a classroom, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Kung 2.5 classrooms, okay, compared doon sa sinasabi ninyo na ginawa niyo ng computation, ang matitipid is 0.8 trillion. Magkano yung 0.8 trillion po, ASEC?
0.8 trillion, that would be around 800 million?
800 billion. So yan po yung total na matitipid.
Cumulative, Mr. Chair.
Cumulative after 10 years. Up to 30 years.
30 years horizon, Mr. Chair.
30 years horizon. Okay. Lagay po natin sa 10 years. Pag 10 years lang po.
We will have to do a recomputation on that, Mr. Chair, but we do have the table for the year 1 up to year 30, and it is contained in our report as well.
Okay. Yung ginagawa niyo feasibility study, yan ho ba na forward niyo sa COA para ma-review ng COA?
No, Mr. Chair, not yet. This is just a simple economics as recommended by this committee in August. So we submitted the same, and it is not yet a comprehensive study. But the assumptions that we place in our simple economics is that we included all basic education inputs for a classroom. That's why it went up to that, because it is expected that if you add a classroom, there should be a teacher as well. And it's an additional class. It's an additional class in a school. It will require increased MOE because of the number of classrooms has increased and the number of learners has increased. So we considered all the basic education inputs, not just the physical classroom, Mr. Chair.
Basically, the report, just to sum it up, no? The report says that if, in simple terms, if DepEd will build classrooms to complete all 159,000, it will need 3.7 trillion, tama? Or 124 billion per year, correct? If this is to serve 7.3 million learners, okay? If we do the same for a voucher program or ESC, no, any of those programs, to address the 7.3 million learners, DepEd will only spend 86 billion per year, correct? So that's why the conclusion here is the voucher program / ESC is cheaper because it will spend lesser. 86 billion versus 124. No, in
Yes.
simple terms.
Yes, Mr. Chair. And that
making it
is
simple.
based on the assumption that the amount of the vouchers and the ESC grants will remain the same.
Okay, so we're addressing number 1, the growth of students. And then number 2, obviously, the congestion. Correct?
Yes,
Because
Mr. Chair.
how can you address the growth if you don't address congestion? Congestion is a present problem. The growth is a
Yes.
future problem. So we need to address congestion first as a priority and address the growth of the number of students. Tama ba, ASEC?
Right, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Yes, doon po sa statement kanina ni ASEC Bringas, babalikan ko lang. Sabi niyo po, based on your computation, 3 trillion, 3.4,
3.4, Mr. Chair.
okay, sige. Thank you, dinagdagan niyo po. 3.4 trillion. Okay. Medyo mahinata ako sa math, ano? Kaya pati mga kasama ko at competition. 3.4 for 180,000 classrooms. Tama. Okay. Now, kung i-divide natin to, yung 3 trillion for 180,000 classrooms, it would cost to build around one classroom around 16 million. One classroom alone is 16 million. Kasama na dyan yung sa mga teachers.
Mr. Chair,
Subsidies,
that
ano?
the cumulative amount of 3.4 that I mentioned covers not only the physical structure of the classroom, but it includes all other basic education inputs, Mr. Chair, meaning
That is correct.
furniture. Yeah.
So per classroom, 16 million.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
million.
Not per classroom,
Isn't this
but
too high?
all basic education inputs, Mr. Chair,
Basic education inputs for one
for one class.
for one class.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Magkano ba ngayon ang ginagastos sa bawat class?
That would be a number that would
How
be
much?
defined by the per capita. I don't have
Hindi.
the exact per capita for the public school
Okay.
learners,
So,
Mr. Chair.
How much sa inyo pong ginagawang pag-iimbestiga sa mga records na meron kayo available, how much ang gastos dapat ng bawat eskwelahan sa isang classroom? Yung sinasabi nga ni Attorney Bringas.
Senator Tulfo, I would
Per
like to
class.
ask our resident auditors who handles the audit, the financial and compliance audit of DepEd.
Okay. As Bringas, while papaupuin natin yung taga-COA. So sabi niyo po, per class at classroom, okay, ang budget dyan is aabot ng magkano po a year? Meron ako kayong record yan. Ito na pala yung si COA. COA, sa inyo pong auditing, sa inyo pong assessment, average po sa lahat na ng eskwelahan, regardless kung saan eskwelahan to, whether province o NCR, magkano po dapat ang gastos to maintain one classroom in one class?
Good morning, Your Honors. I am Imelda Celso, the resident auditor of DepEd. Unfortunately po, wala po kaming data regarding the expenses per classroom as of now.
Per class.
Yes,
Wag
po,
na yung classroom. Alisin natin yung classroom. Per
Per
class.
we have no data, sir, on that.
Can you have data on that?
Ah,
Kasi sa computation po ni si Bringas, kung alisin natin yung kasi 16 million sa sinabi niyan 3 trillion, 3.4. Baka more than pa. Alisin natin yung butal, 3 trillion na lang for 180,000 classrooms. It would cost 16 million for each classroom. Okay, kung 3.4, so 18 trillion, 18 million per classroom. Now, sa 18 million per classroom na mabibuild sana nito every year, alisin natin yung 2.5 million na sabi din po ni ASEC, which would cost the amount of the structure. So kung alisin natin yung 2.5, so that will be 15.5 million. Tama? So does it cost 15.5 million a year to maintain one class in a classroom? Tanggal na po yung yung construction, yung structure. So ang tanong ko ngayon, does it cost 15.5 million pesos a year to maintain one particular classroom or a particular class?
Mr. Chair, if I may be allowed, based on from the finance, the per capita cost for 2024 would be in the amount of 25,921. And that amount, the 25,921 amount would be broken down into personnel services, that is for the teacher, learning resources, the school building and facilities, the school MOE, and the computerization program. So that would amount to 25,921 per capita per learner, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Opo, naintindihan ko po kayo. Ang sa akin po, para mapabilis, para mas madali pong maintindihan, and kanina po yung COA tumatango, ibig sabihin medyo nag-agree sa atin dito. Gusto ko po yung numbers na how much would it cost to maintain one particular class over a year for one particular classroom. I-times nyo lang po, nagbibigay ka ng figure kanina.
Yes,
So,
yes,
baka
Mr.
i-times nyo
Chair,
lang po.
to simplify the computation, that would be if we average the class sizes for all the grade levels, that would be around 40 learners per class. So we will multiply 25,921 times 40 per class.
Magkano po yun? Ba't tumatawa po yung ano, COA? Hindi, it's okay. COA, pwede kayo mag-butt in if you want. With the permission, of course, of Mr. Chair.
Go ahead,
Kasi
Kasal.
if you want to say, kasi
in
kanina
terms of-
COA gusto mag-butt in eh. COA, you can butt in anytime.
Cumulative.
Actually, sir, we still have to have the study of DepEd on that.
Wala pa kayo
And
natatanggap na study pertaining to that.
Not yet
But
po.
would it
But
be nice kung meron kayong matanggap na study?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And we would like to emphasize that we can only do that because after we receive the vouchers, all the expenditures, because we are on post-audit, sir.
But
But we can request their data on
you
that.
can require them to submit those
Yes, sir. And validate also upon receipt of the
Sa ngayon, wala
expenditures.
pa kayo natatanggap na.
None yet po.
Okay, once you receive that data, so gagawa kayo ng yung comparison
Yes, sir.
at computation and all.
It will be,
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, Ms. Ferrero would like
Ah.
to, be recognized.
Go ahead, Asek.
Yes, let me correct, Mr. Chair. I think our values are in thousands. So that would be 25,921,000, Mr. Chair. Naka-thousand. In the study that we conducted, we actually have a cumulative amount for 2024, for example, at 69,171. Mr. Chair. 25, is that 25 million?
Kaya nga yan sinasabi as bring us ng Commission on Audit, si Ma'am Imelda Celso, yan yung ganong klase mga data sinasubmit nyo sa COA. It will be nice kung yan ay kasama sa inyong submission. Tama ba, COA? Yung mga ganong klaseng records and documents and information.
yes, sir. If we are to conduct the compliance audit or whatever audit we're going to conduct, we're going to need that data.
Okay.
In order for us to ascertain if, especially if the performance audit office again will be conducting an audit on that.
Okay.
Kasi it's their area po
Okay.
to conduct an
So,
audit on the.
nangyayari niya, Attorney, I'm not saying na may anomaly dito. What I'm saying is, for the purpose of transparency, those datas that you are mentioning to us right now, right here, must be also submitted to COA for them to see na kung talagang tama ba yung ginagawa nyo o baka medyo merong off doon o merong sobra, etc. So, it is for them to say that because yun ang expertise nila.
Yes.
do that, ASAP?
Yes, Mr. Chair, but let me just clarify this, that these are just projections and part of an economic analysis of whether it is cheaper to invest in classrooms or cheaper or to invest in expanded voucher system.
COA, acceptable ba sa inyong projection?
Projection lang po yun. We are going to request, annually we are requesting the accomplishment report and then evaluate po the accomplishment report kung tamang ay kung they really serve the purpose for the project. Ganun po yung gagawin naming audit.
So you,
Sa accomplishment report na po namin
Okay.
i-base yung.
so which you're not receiving it as of
As of
yet.
now, wala po kaming data on the study of the DepEd, but we are requesting every year their accomplishment report on every program of the DepEd.
So
And
ASEC
then
bring us,
eventually evaluate po the rate of compliance, the utilization rate and other things po.
so Attorney ASEC bring us and Miss Imelda, siguro mag-usap kayong dalawa kung ano yung mga kailangan yung isubmit sa COA and comply dun sa request ng COA.
Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for those very important questions, Senator Tulfo. And I'd like to pursue those items. But let me allow COA to present their findings, also the recommendations. Again, I'd like to commend COA for instituting this performance evaluation. And just to put on record, we want those findings to be discussed here in the committee hearing, and also your recommendations. No?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Tulfo. Actually, we have prepared a position paper regarding your request on the proposed resolution. So probably we can discuss what we had prepared in our position paper regarding those presented in the resolution. So I will ask Auditor Liabe to discuss the part of the position paper we have. So we are still awaiting for the signature of Chair Cordoba for this position paper.
Mr. Liave, so that we won't belabor the committee, just go straight to the point. No? Discuss the most important points of your position paper.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Maybe we'll just go directly to the whereas clauses in the Senate resolutions that directly there is a GASP related audit findings on our performance audit that we conducted last 2018. First, with regards to the whereas clause regarding the where there's a mention of the PEAC. So PEAC has been mandated by Congress. Basically, PEAC, we identified it as public instrumentality. So the PEAC should be under the audit jurisdiction of the COA, but since then PEAC is insisting that it is a private entity. That's why it is not subject to the COA audit. So we have yet to determine the legal personality of PEAC. But in our performance audit report, we made a stand that it is a public instrumentality under the with the issuance of and created under the executive order and should be audited by the COA. Another whereas clause here is about the
Pwede makasingit po, Mr. Chair.
yes.
Mr. Liave, so kailan po ninyo na-flag down yung DepEd at sinabi nyo na dapat under sa COA monitoring yung programa yon, and deny nila, sabi nila hindi dapat kasi private?
With the issuance of our performance audit report in 2018, we already made a stand there that PEAC should be under the audit jurisdiction of COA, and it was also approved by the commission proper of our commission that the PEAC should be under the audit jurisdiction of COA and shall be placed under the Cluster 5 of the National Government Audit Sector of the commission.
That was back in 2018, and
Yes.
sinabi ng DepEd in 2018 na hindi. Private lang, private kami, so we should not be under the jurisdiction of COA as
Yes,
far as
actually,
is concerned.
it was a recurring issue even before we came into the picture, because actually Secretary Biones requested us to audit the GASP program and also to check the juridical personality of PEAC. So even before we audit in 2018, that is already an existing issue by the resident auditors as to the juridical personality.
So what did you do nung nakita nyo na may konting problema at may issue?
Yes po. So yun nga po, we recommended that the PEAC should be placed under the audit jurisdiction of COA and shall be audited by COA, not by the private
Correct.
audit firm.
So based po dun sa inyong request o based po dun sa inyong sinabi sa DepEd since 2018 na hanggang ngayon ayaw pa rin mag-comply ng DepEd, ano po yung ginagawa nyo aksyon para mapilitan sila mag-comply?
Ayun po. So actually, isa yan sa mga parang not implemented recommendation of the COA, since still PEAC is still not being audited by the Commission on Audit.
So hanggang ngayon itong PEAC unaudited to?
By the COA po, pero it is...
Yeah, by the COA, yes.
Yes po. Yes po,
Okay.
Senator.
So since 2018, so siguro before 2018, hindi na talaga na-audit to. So nakita nyo
Yes
siguro
po,
na kailangang
it is
audit to.
being audited by a private auditing firm po, not
Private
by
auditing
COA.
firm. not
And
by-
until now po.
So, wala ho ba kayong nilapitan ng agency sa gobyerno or hindi kayo pumunta sa Malacanang para sabihin na dapat ito o wala namang batas sa atin nagsasabi na dapat sila ang PEAC ay dapat i-audit ng private firm. There's no such law, right?
Actually po,
Or executive order? Was there, unless kung may executive order stating that PEAC is a private entity and therefore should be audited by a private auditing firm. Meron ho bang ganong executive
actually
order?
po, ang basis po namin din ng stand namin that the PEAC is a public instrumentality is that of course we base our stand on the available DOJ opinion regarding the legal personality of PEAC, and also based on, kasi po yung PEAC is created by an executive order. So though the executive order is silent as to which agency shall have the administrative jurisdiction over PEAC. So in the absence of such, the President shall have direct administrative supervision pursuant to his general administrative power under the Constitution. So tapos another po, hindi po kasi siya SEC registered. So yung assertion po niyan being a private entity, so medyo ano din po kami dahil at in the first place po hindi po siya SEC-registered entity. And yun po. Kaya, and based also po sa mga DOJ opinion, actually wala po talagang naging conclusive na definitive na in-identify siya as public or private
kung
entity
ganun,
po.
Mr. Llave, since 2018 nung flag down nyo na dapat under sa pag-audit ng COA itong PEAC at tumatanggi sila, and every year thereafter, wala kayong plano na maobliga talaga itong PEAC na para to submit themselves to auditing by the Commission on Audit?
Actually, yun na po yung stand ng Commission on Audit to place it under our jurisdiction. Pero actually, we're waiting for the assertion from the chairperson of the committee, which is the Secretary of the Department of Education, na kung magpapasubject nga yung PEAC.
So it depends on the chairman.
COA po. Kasi po nag-stand na po kami na under audit jurisdiction po ng COA yung PEAC po.
What's your opinion, Mr. Chair? ikaw yung chairman sa basic education eh. Does it need
Ay,
legislation?
actually po, chairman po is the secretary
I'm
of the
talking
department.
about the Senate. I'm talking about the no, I know. I'm talking about the Senate kasi siya yung committee chair ng sa basic education. So since yung PEAC pinag-usapan natin sa basic education, so do you think it needs legislation? You've heard yung sinabi position ng COA?
Yeah. Thank you for
As
that
legislate-
question.
Yeah.
Senator Tulfo. Well, that's also one of the issues that we want to clarify through this hearing. I know that it came out in the COA reports, and it's a hanging question. I read the DOJ opinion. Seems to me that the DOJ opinion is also not so clear, no, in terms of direction. It provided some guidelines, but it's not so clear as to how it should be treated in line with its mandate under GASPE. No, that is where we are right now. So that's why I want to hear the discussion, because if need be, then we can legislate to make it clear, and as well as we can correct all of these matters that are hanging. But
Okay.
more than that, I also want to understand clearer the relationship between DepEd and PEAC, and also the efficiencies, no, that a private entity brings to this program. Definitely, DepEd is allowed to engage a third-party contractor under the executive order, and under the law. And because of that, we want to understand from DepEd what benefits and efficiencies that a private contractor brings in, no? Because that is also very important. So outside of the legal issues that we are talking about, it's also important to discuss the benefits and also the efficiencies. You subcontract to a third party because you feel that they are more efficient, they are more effective, no? Therefore, you subcontract it. So we want to understand that efficiency.
Mr. Chair, okay, follow-up question lang doon sa ng taga-COA. So ano po yung game plan? Ano po yung nakikita niyong course of action na kailangan niyong gawin para maobliga na po itong PEAC no, to submit doon po sa pag-audit ng COA?
Thank you, Senator Tulfo, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, when we conduct the performance audit of this sa GASP, so ang problema lang, sir, yung monitoring. So tulad nangyari po ngayon na sinasabi po natin, discussion natin, na meron po mga nadidelay. So para nagkakaroon po ng double work kasi nagbe-verify pa ulit si DepEd sa LIS. So meron silang another system na ginagamit other than dun sa sistema ni PEAC. So chine-check pa ulit ni DepEd. So tumatagal. So ang ano namin sino ba dapat ang mag-monitor? So yung monitoring implementation, yun ang problema. So we are paying PEAC at least 100 million ang service natin sa kanila. So third parties, okay, kung ma-release na yung burden ni DepEd at yung proseso mapapabilis. Because we in performance audit, we consider the 3 E's: economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. So kung effective naman siya, okay naman, kaya lang po inano natin yung mga sistema sa government na beneficial ba sa government since we are paying 100 million to PEAC. So kung may double work din ginagawa si DepEd, so dapat may slash natin doon. Ano lang yung dapat na gawin ni PEAC at yung gagawin ni DepEd. So meron lang clear delineation na
Para saan po
responsibility.
yung 100 million na you're paying to PEAC, as you said?
Service po ng DepEd sa PEAC. We are paying cost, parang admin cost.
Permission, Senator Tulfo, si Father Delvo was raising his hand. So
Yeah, good
on
morning.
this topic, no? On this
Opo,
topic.
opo. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Senator Gatchalian, Senator Tulfo. With regard to the merit of PEAC as claimed to be private entity, based on our experience in Cocopea and Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, as well as Manila Ecclesiastical Province School Systems Association, we're happy with this performance. So it has been effective in terms of certifying, recertifying, because the intent of government assistance and subsidy is to promote quality education. And as for us, we're happy with this performance. So I don't claim any expertise whether it is a private entity or public entity. But as far as experience is concerned, PEAC has been giving effective service to Cocopea as well as SAYAP and MAPSA. It has the structure, it has the instrument of certification and recertification, and it has a lean and effective personnel. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. But there's no question whether yung PEAC is doing a good job or doing a bad job or poor performance sila. It's a question of being a government entity, dapat ang mag-audit ay yung COA. Wala po akong sinasabi rito o walang sinasabi sa committee na yung PEAC ay may ginagawang mali o masama or poor ang performance ng PEAC. That's not the issue here, Father, sir. Kung hindi, yung dapat ang PEAC ay mag-submit sa COA
Yeah,
for auditing.
Your Honor, natanong po, nabanggit po kasi ng chairman kanina na ang merit ng PEAC into sa performance, nakuha ko po yun.
Yung performance po ng PEAC, hindi po kina-question dito, Father. Never ko minention yan na yung PEAC.
Yes po, na po sa inyo po, na-mention na po ng chairman kanina.
Yeah, PEAC must, just like you said, I agree with you. PEAC must be doing an excellent job. Yeah. Na AAA, 5-star ratings ang ginagawa ng PEAC, wala tayong question. Pero yun lang sana, sumunod tayo kung ano yung nasa proseso na nakasaad sa batas na dapat lahat ng government entities mag-submit sa auditing ng COA. Yun lang po yung pinaka-issue dito, Father.
On top of that, no, even though it's permitted under the law that DepEd can contract or subcontract, engage third-party organizations. Earlier, Senator Tulfo was asking about the validation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I detected that PEAC is doing their own validation. And then also DepEd is doing their own validation under the office. No? So obviously there's duplication of work. And this is where I mentioned earlier, the efficiency. No? Because we want to make these two organizations efficient. No? And that's later on, we'll discuss about that. And that's partly the recommendations of the committee is for DepEd and PEAC to work on its efficiency. No? Again, you subcontract to a third party because you think they're much better. You cannot do it more efficient. That's fine with us. Senator Tulfo and I, we agree on that. But duplication is not efficiency. No? Duplication is a waste of money. No? So, and that's what the COA is pointing out earlier. Obviously, these two organizations are not in harmony, at least for now. No? And we want to bring this out so that they will talk and put this in clarity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pero pagkaintindi ko, correct me if I'm wrong, COA, mas gustuhin ninyo na dapat yung PEAC ay mag-submit sa inyo pagdating po sa pag-audit.
Yes, Senator. Because under the law, created sila ng EO, so public instrumentality sila. And DepEd is paying them the
Correct.
100 million. So, and
therefore,
again, it's the chair of the PEAC is Secretary BP Sara. So, medyo nakita namin, kung private si PEAC, medyo may conflict of interest kasi government as sitting in the private entity. So parang ganun yung concept po namin. So we are not questioning na kumuha ng third party si DepEd and may kontrata naman po yun. But we are asking as the performance and the COA, ano yun mga for the benefit of the government of course. So dun lang naman po kami. So kung nagbabayad tayo sa PEAC ng this much and duplicate naman pala ginagawa din ni DepEd, why paying them dun sa ganitong trabaho?
samantalang pwede naman
Pwede
dumadaan
naman-
sa inyo ng libre. Okay.
Pwede mo-
So, like again, Father, wala tayong issue dito ng poor performance ng PEAC. PEAC must be doing a very good job, an excellent job. Mas maganda, in the name of transparency, mag-submit na lang tayo sa COA at yun naman talaga nakasal sa batas. Yun lang po. Pero nothing questioning here is the performance ng PEAC.
Permission of Senator Tulfo, Ms. Doris, who's the Executive Director of PEAC, would want to respond. Go ahead.
Just to respond to the concerns that have been raised. So there is a DOJ 1999 opinion that states that what was created, the FAPE and the trustee, which is PAC, is neither a corporate or a government entity. In other words, there's an existing DOJ opinion that is neither. Therefore, that has been what we have been using as our basis, no, for the work that we do in the Private Education Assistance Committee. So FAPE is not an instrumentality of the state. So that's the Fund for Assistance to Private Education because it's meant to support private education. Now, what happened over time is that PAC was asked by DepEd to pilot the ESC. And the ESC eventually became a law. And when it became a law, expanded into E-GASPE, expanded into a voucher program, all of a sudden you now have 2 million grantees in the program. Therefore, that was the time that, everyone was thinking, ang laki na nito. So what exactly should be the mechanism? But over time, what DepEd has done was really to work with PAC by contracting it in an annual memorandum of agreement, using as a legal base the special provision in the GAA, which is a law in itself. So that allows DepEd to contract PAC. Part of the contract is for PAC to conduct the GASP activities, orienting the 8,000 schools, certifying the 3,000 schools, monitoring 10%, billing documents, etc., etc. That is the cost of the 100 million that is being talked about. But what is submitted by PAC to DepEd, we submit to them all the reports of regional orientations, the attendance of the schools, certification reports, billing documents. So these are the services that we have rendered as part of the MOA. And of course, the official receipt that we received, the 100 billion admin fees, after we have given the full report. So to us, that is already something that I think the Commission and Audit can look at. What were the deliverables that were given by the PAC as per the MOA between DepEd and the PAC? We also conduct in-service training activities, which is about 104 million. That is fully liquidated to DepEd, which I suppose DepEd would also submit to COA. The same with research funds. In other words, it is rather inaccurate to say that we do not subject ourselves to COA audit. We submit liquidation reports for inset and for research, and for the 100 million, these are delivered services. Now, having said all that, If you will look at 100 million at pesos na for admin fees, at 2 million grantees, that is 50 pesos per grantee. That is how much, we are charging in the implementation of the programs. Hindi madali yung programa kasi hindi naman kami nagpo-process ng billing documents lang. Nag-regional orientation kami ng mga eskwelahan. Nagmo-monitor kami ng 10% of the participating schools. Nagse-certify kami ng 1,300 schools taon-taon para ma-sure namin na quality assured sila. In other words, hindi lang naman pasahan ng billing documents ang trabaho ng PAC. Now, as regards duplication, personally, I really don't think that GASO and the PAC are duplicating each other's work. The PAC does not have access to public LIS. Kaya kami, nakikita lang namin yung enrollment ng private. Kaya kailangan tignan pa rin ng GASO kasi baka yung bata nasa public pala. Kaya doon sila nagkakaroon ng issues. Doon nakita yung mga eskwelahan na fina-flag ng DepEd. Now, what was the recent agreement between DepEd, specifically the admin and the ICTS? We will enhance the interface of our systems so that we can validate from the PAC side. In other words, if they will give us visibility of public, then kaya na naming i-validate yon. Realizing that, GASO is also doing a lot of things. But to my mind, we meet almost every week or monthly with GASO because the interface is really at the central level. So the national office of the PAC plus the GASO, and then, that's how we do oversight of everything. Pero yung PAC, nag-implement siya together with the regional offices of DepEd.
Okay,
Ganun ang structure niya.
thank you. Gusto mag-react ng COA?
Thank you, Ms. Pereira, and thank you, Senator Fulto. We are not questioning the performance of PEAC again. So what we have here, so parang we are considering na again, nagbabayad si government po sa PEAC. And correct me if I'm wrong, so nag-validate kami, nag-verify kami sa SEC. They are not registered. They are not SEC registered entity. Correct me if I'm wrong also, they are not paying taxes as entity. So, paano na yun sa government side? So, nawawala. So, hindi namin kine-question na kinuha si DepEd as third party. We're not questioning your performance. What we're questioning is the money involved in paying PEAC and the return as kung private nga po talaga kayo, supposed to be you are a SEC registered as private entity. And you are paying taxes for the government. So doon lang yung point namin. Again, we are not questioning the performance of PEAC. It's good na tutulungan si DepEd. But again, as COA, we have to track the money being paid by the government. Yun po yung stand namin dito. And again, PEAC is created under EO. So, kung meron si DOJ regarding neither kung ano yung inyong legal personality, but sa COA, ang stand namin sa criteria ng executive order, you are created under the Philippine law. So, government pa rin. So, kung kung hindi po talaga ma-audit at nagpa-audit po kayo sa private, okay lang ba? But again, follow the money po ang ng COA. So both side po yan. So nagbabayad sa DepEd, saan po napupunta? Yun po yung aming coordination with the resident auditor ng DepEd and the performance audit. Yun lang po. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ma'am Caballes. So, DepEd, since kiniklaim ng PEAC siya ay private entity, bakit hindi siya nakaregister sa SEC at bakit hindi siya nagbabayad ng buwis? Yun po yung tanong ng COA. Galing sa COA po yun. And again, wala tayong kine-question sa performance ng PEAC. Let me reiterate it for the nth time. So, pakisagot po, sabi ni COA.
Yung mga empleyado po sa national office nagbabayad po ng buwis yan. So, iba yan dun sa PAC. Now, yung Fund for Assistance to Private Education, actually, it's really a unique entity in that sense. Wala rin kaming SEC registration. That's why now that we're talking to PhilJeps, they are also looking at equivalent documents such as the EO issued by the Office of the President and all the amendments. We also have been in discussions with PRC on this kasi CPD provider tayo. They are using the EO as the basis for the well, for our eligibility, no?
Doon pa ba sa
Kasi-
iyo nakalagay na kayo ay considered as private entity, yung PEAC? Kasi
Doon-
kung hindi, sabi po ng COA, dapat para maging legit na po, para wala ng issue, mag-register na lang po sa
Ah.
SEC. And then, after registering sa SEC, magbayad po ng buwis. Yun po yung gusto lang mangyari ng COA. Can we not comply? A very simple request.
Yun ho kasing Private Education Assistance Committee, as per the DOJ opinion, no, nakalagay po na it is really not even a legal entity in that sense, no? Nakalagay ho sa DOJ opinion
Ma'am, tumatawa?
na ang mga
Dito nagkakabanggaan yung ano eh. Dapat
Pasensya na po, mag-butt in po ako, no? Kasi ang consideration po namin talaga is, PEAC is only a committee. So committee lang po siya na co-manage ng DepEd regarding sa fund. So parang nangyari ngayon, naging third party sila, naging entity na sila na po yung gumagawa nung para sa GASP. So, nagkaroon ng mga transition, pati babalik po kami dun sa beginning nung EO na magko-co-manage lang sila. And nasa GAA din nun na co-manage lang sila. Ay, yun po yung title si GAA, co-manage the fund. Actually, PAPE nga siya. Talagang totoo naman po, PAPE the beginning. But PAPE is a fund. It's not PEAC. So, sa different term po yung PAPE is the fund, PEAC is parang yun, magko-co-manage. Yun lang po yung nakita namin sa report. And it's good here na ito po yung venue na medyo meron po tayong clarification regarding dun sa aming report and the report of our COA resident auditor. Yun lang po. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Ferrer?
Marami na ho kaming sagot, no, doon sa ganong klaseng sa mga ganong questions. So unfortunately, our lawyers are not here. But what we have been using as a legal basis is the GAA. And so that allows DepEd to contract PAC. It's a joint management. Hindi ho totoo na kami lahat ang gumagawa ng trabaho. Meron hong trabaho ang DepEd insofar as GASP implementation is concerned. Siguro kaya lang kami nagjo-joint manage kasi PAC din ang nag-pilot nito nung unang panahon in the 1980s. At nagkaroon din ng pagkakataon na DepEd ang nag-implement, medyo nahirapan dahil maraming ibang mga inaasikaso, no? So that's how we are so far, no? So right now, and we've already said this many times, no? The Office of the President can actually make a decision on this matter because it was the one that created PAC in the first place, no? It's not, it was the Office of the President. We also have sought that kind of clarification in the previous administration. We probably will have to seek it now in this administration. But so far as what our concern is really is that all studies have shown that the implementation is really very good.
Okay. Ma'am, you did mention about the Office of the President. So, COA, why don't you go to the Office of the President, talk to them, and tell them what your issue is with this PEAC para si Presidente nang gagawa ng paraan o mag-decide kung ano man narapat.
For us, kasi meron na rin kasing sagot ang CP Commission proper na.
Ano po yung CP Commission?
The Commission proper of the Commission on Audit. So ito po yung mga deciding committee po, si Chair and the two commissioner.
Okay.
So meron na po na talagang si PEAC under the jurisdiction, audit jurisdiction ng national government. And
Pero
besides,
hindi nga sumusunod yung PEAC pa rin eh.
si resident auditor na po yun. Then parang meron po sabi din ni PEAC na every year meron silang MOA ni DepEd. So ano na po ba yung update dun sa after our release of yung mga recommendation namin, ano na po yung stand ngayon ni DepEd regarding po doon? Kung may MOA po silang ginagawa with the PEAC regarding doon sa aming recommendation. So pwede po siguro masagot po ni DepEd kung meron silang update regarding doon sa MOA.
Just want to ask, when was the MOA signed? When was the last MOA signed? January of this year. Okay, for the current school year. So it's an annual engagement. And the MOA specifies all the responsibilities of both sides, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And the chairman of PEAC is the Department of Education Secretary.
Yes, Mr.
Tama?
Chair.
So that means she performs two roles. As the chairman of PEAC, which is the receiver and the subcontractor, I'll call it subcontractor, and also the DepEd, which is the principal for this purpose. So
That's right, Mr. Chair.
I think this can be resolved at the board level of PEAC. And I share the sentiment of COA because COA, as the guardians of our as the guardians of the public funds, no, and I would lean towards COA's direction on addressing the issue of audit as well as making sure that the funds are well accounted for. No, my point there is since DepEd is the chairman, DepEd can actually bridge between COA and PEAC. If information is already being shared, then maybe there can be an arrangement where COA can come in through DepEd and look at the expenditures and how the funds are being allocated. No? I share the sentiment of Senator Tulfo. This will be left hanging. No? I know there's a special provision to address this temporarily, but it will be left hanging. No? So we need to address this in order to have clarity and in order to also to settle this issue. And my opinion is since DepEd performs both roles, DepEd is in the best position to address this issue. No? I read the opinion. It's really quite kasi nakasulat dito, neither a corporate or government entity. No? So it's really neither here or neither there. No? So in other words, it's only DepEd can address this through your MOA. If your MOA will specify that part of the requirement is to audit the books, part of the requirements is to submit documents, then so be it. That's the principal's prerogative as the principal. So I would like to recommend that to DepEd to take a look because or else this will be hanging and it will not go away. No? So that's the recommendation of the chair to DepEd. And you can get back to us as to what will be your opinion on that recommendation. So we'll call on Attorney Tara and then Ms. Ferrer and then Senator Tulfo will continue his interpellation.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, with regard to the MOA that we have issued for school year 2023-2024, we have stated there the liquidation responsibility of PEAC, which is number one of the in-service training that we give to them, the 104 million for the training of the private school teachers. However, I think because of the claim nga po ng PEAC, no, that they are a private entity, the 100 million management fee that we could not ask them to be audited. So doon lang po tayo siguro talaga nagkakaroon ng parang concern, no. Pero as far as the money that the DepEd provides for the training of the teachers, they're able to liquidate po, Mr. Chair.
The one paying the 100 million
That's
correct? So
correct.
you're the principal in this case, diba?
Yes.
And under the law, you can also subcontract, no, or engage a third party. So it's
That's
your
right.
call. It's your call really whether to engage PEAC or not to engage PEAC or to engage somebody else,
That's right.
diba?
That's right,
So,
Mr. Chair.
but in this case, you find PEAC efficient and because they've been doing this for a very long time, that's fine. It's just the issue of whether public funds are being audited or not, and the issue of whether PEAC can be audited or not. No? So, but since DepEd sits at the board, ang unique dito, siya rin yung chairman That's the unique case here. So DepEd can actually allow, as a matter of policy within PEAC, allow COA or whoever to audit or submit to you an audit report from another party, no? Which I believe there is. No? There's a third-party auditor that PEAC contracts and sinasabit sa DepEd, correct? Nakikita niyo ba itong
That is
audit
the
report?
document na hindi po ako privy, Senator, because I'm from the Government Assistance and Subsidies Office. So it's
But who
actually
sits as the chairman si
si VP,
secretary, correct? But who
but,
sits on her behalf?
si Undersecretary Omar Romero, he is our Legal and Legislative Affairs Undersecretary
And
po.
nagsasubmit siya nakukuha niya yung mga audit report from PEAC?
I think po, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, I cannot speak for him po.
Okay.
but
Well, I think just bring this up to Yusek Omar.
I will, Mr. Chair.
We want to settle this issue. And
Correct.
again, it will be left hanging.
Yes,
And
that's
I
right
believe
po.
that DepEd, being the chairman, has the authority to settle this issue. No?
Yes,
Right.
Mr. Chair. We will take note of that and we'll raise po. Thank you.
Senator Gatchalian, just to add, no, there is an audited report every year. Isla Lipana is our auditor. We submit the report to all government entities, no, which work with us. DepEd and even the Office of the President receives a copy of the annual report with the audited financial statement. The U.S. government, which donated the fund, also gets the audited financial statement. So the contention of COA that they want to fully audit the Fund for Assistance to Private Education, to us is really problematic because what can be audited are the DepEd funds that are downloaded to us for very specific programs such as inset and research, and for services, no, that we are rendering for the GASP. In other words, yung Fund for Assistance to Private Education, think of it, if it becomes a public fund, how can COCOPEA and CAP and PACU get support from the Fund for Assistance to Private Education? So these are really two different matters. In other words, in the event that PAC will not co-implement GASP anymore, then we will be living, peacefully without GASP implementation because we actually existed for that purpose, to be the trustee of a fund that will assist private education.
Thank you for that, Ms. Pereira. Ms. Caballas, would you like to add something?
Again, we have to clarify po, no? Hindi po namin pinatatanggal si PEAC. So wala po yung sinasabi na kung mawawala si PEAC, paano na yung GASP? No, wala po. Kasi talaga naman pwede mag-contract po, services. Okay po yun. Hindi namin kine-question po si PEAC na dapat hindi na mag-contract. Ang inaano po namin yung proseso. And as mentioned po ni Ma'am Rodora, they are submitting financial statements to DepEd. But yung financial statements po yun, hindi po nakakaabot din sa COA. So kung nagli-liquidate sila, so kung attachment po yun as supporting document, dapat po nabibigyan din po si COA ng financial statements ng private entity. So magiging source din po ng COA yun during their audit na meron financial statement si PEAC. So, yung pong binabayad ni DepEd kahit paano, nakikita po doon sa financial statements. Yun po. So, yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Rodora na kung mawawala si PEAC, wala po kami sinasabi na mawawala po si PEAC. And again, yung performance sabi po namin is malaki pong tulong. But again, we are requiring the process. Yung talagang paano po yung proseso sa government inside, sa government side, kung ano po yung ino-audit ng COA. So yun lang po, Senator and Mr. Chair.
Ms. Ferrer, sabi po ni Ms. Caballas, to make it short, nagsasubmit pala kayo ng financial statement, PEAC sa DepEd. Pero yung attachment na yon hindi na nakarating sa COA na ma-minus na. Yun po yung pinu-point out ngayon ng COA. So is it possible na yung financial statement from now on mula sa PEAC na attached dun sa DepEd, pag sinasabit nyo sa DepEd, makakakuha ng kopya ang COA?
Yes, Senator Tulfo. I'm actually checking now if we gave an annual report with the audited financial statement to COA. If we did not give them, then we'll give them a copy.
And then mas gusto ko sana na mga taga-gobyerno hindi nagkakasundo, dapat magkasundo, di ba? Dapat yung COA at lahat ng government agencies magkasundo, di ba? Kasi sabi nga ni Senator Win, ang COA kasi mandated ng batas natin na mag-audit ng mga funds coming from the government. Kumbaga sa kaban ng bayan, sila po ang na-entrust para to see to it na transparent at maayos yung pagkagastos sa pera ng kaban ng bayan. Yun po yung pinupoint out kay ni Senator Gatchalian na umagi naman yung COA. So yun ang siguro, it's a matter of communication. Pero matagal na silang nakipag-communicate ata sa DepEd since 2018. Pero time and time again, it seems na hindi nagkakasundo ang DepEd sa COA sa issue na yan. Tama, COA?
Sa ngayon po alam ko kasi since po yung mga transition po nagbabago din, no? So yun po yung nagiging problema. But when we audited the GASP po, wala po kaming nakitang financial statements yun po.
Walang financial statement. Okay. At magkakaroon na rin po. Sabi nila they will comply na. Yung attachment daw isasama na.
Thank you, Senator Tulfo and Mr. Chair. Nandito po yung aming COA auditor, so hahanapin na po niya ngayon yun.
Hanapin
Every
na.
time na magli-liquidate po si PEAC. At saka po every year end, so makikita na po nila.
Ayun. So, we will take your word for it, Ms. Ferrer. Thank you very much. Thank you po.
COA, you may continue. I think
Ayun, apologies po. Medyo naging mainit yung discussion because of that first finding that we presented. Well, continue na lang po namin. So, another po is yung as to the na-mention po dun sa Senate resolution na yung ESC grant is being absent and their existence cannot be satisfactorily explained, and also ESC grant is being double listed under the ESC program. During our performance audit po of the GASP program in 2018, so yan, nag-sample po kasi kami ng mga sample beneficiaries, and on our audit, wala kaming na-note na ghost beneficiaries. So for the specific audit, so yung mga nasample naman po namin when we look sa mga schools na nakita naman namin physically yung mga estudyante na beneficiaries po ng ESC and even senior high school voucher program. Pero in the event po na yung nasample namin ay hindi present during that time, nanghihingi kami ng supporting documents na sinubmit ng mga estudyante during their application doon sa mga GASP program po, ESC or senior high school voucher program. Also, yun nga po, yung even our IT auditor, yun, may na-note po siya na mga 1,456 learners with more than one ESC ID, and which was billed in the same school year for all of the ESC ID po na include dun sa system. So this resulted to double billings from 2012 to 2017. 2017, it amounted to 4.8 million po. For the senior high school voucher program naman, same naman din po. So learners po with multiple LRNs or learner reference number, it amounted to 6.5 million during 2012 to 2017. Tapos another whereas clause here is about the performance indicators, the inadequacy and the suitability of the performance indicator in order to assess the level of success of the program. So as mentioned in the performance audit report, so we identified that the performance indicators are inadequate and unsuitable because yung nare-report lang po ng DepEd is as the number of grantees of the ESC or even the senior high school voucher program in the TSS. But based on the objective po of the GASP program, di ba po, the congestion po of the public school. So yun, so wala lang din po kaming nakitang performance indicator for the DepEd to assess whether the GASP program contributed really into the decongestion of the public schools in the Philippines. Another one is
Makasingit po. So what you're
Ay.
saying, Mr. Liave, wala pa kayo natatanggap at to now ng data kung talagang nakaka-contribute yung performance ng GASP.
ayun po, hindi naman po namin dinidiscount na parang walang na-i-contribute yung GASP program as to the decongestions. But yun, since even in their performance indicator, in the absence of that, for them, even for, kahit sa kanila lang po yung gagamitin nila for them to identify if it really contributed to the decongestion of the public schools.
Kaya kasi yun ang
So,
purpose,
po
yun ang purpose ng GASP na
yes
para
po. Pero
ma-decongest.
for now po, wala po kaming data na nakuha.
But is
on
it
that.
necessary for them to submit those data sa inyong palagay?
Yes po, para even for them, for their decision making, so they will be able to identify if the GASP program really helped in the decongestion and the attainment of the GASP program objectives and goals.
Okay, ASEC Bringas, narinig niyo po yung sinabi ng COA. Is it possible na from now on, mag-submit po kayo ng data para mapakita na talagang yung purpose ng GASP para ma-decongest yung public schools at mailipat yung mga estudyante, yung mga qualified sa private state universities na may kasamang subsidies. Ano pong reaksyon niyo doon, Mr. Bringas?
Yes, we will do
Sec.
that.
Bringas.
We will do that, Senator. We will annually submit the impact of the GASP program to the to the primary objective, that is a decongestion of the public
Thank you.
schools.
So
We
from
will
now
submit
on,
the report
you will
material.
do that. Okay, Mr. Llavi, how's that? From now on, they will submit na raw.
Another finding that we have raised in our performance audit report is that ESC slots have not been based on the pattern of congestion in the public schools. So as such, classroom decongestion may not be measured because target decongestion level was not defined or established. Pero in the early years po kasi ng ESC program, we noted na DepEd considers in their policy making that they have this data on the ano bang tawag doon? The congestion of the public schools and the nearby private schools and identify yung excess capacity to determine the slot allocation. But the current allocation of ESC slots now is not based on the pattern of congestion in the public schools. So there may be areas where ESC participating private schools is close to at least one public schools with excess students. Pero yun po, the DepEd has not been tracking the excess capacity in private schools and the number of excess or overflow students in the congested public schools. So, yun po. Unfortunately, there's no algorithmic procedure that DepEd and PEAC could use to link this data to the ESC slot allocation. Kasi based sa current ESC slot allocation, parang meron lang PEAC slot allocation na 50, tapos depende sa certification level ng schools kung meron bibigay na additional or incentive slots to them yearly. So, yun po.
Okay, pwede makasingit.
Ay, go ahead
Kuha.
po.
Paano po nadidetermina kung qualified ba o hindi para mapasok sa GASP program ang isang mga estudyante? Kasi according sa COA, gusto na malaman kung talagang underprivileged ba yung talagang mga recipients. COA has not been informed about that. Kaya nga, kanina pa palaging marami sinasabi ang COA, meaning may kunting issues ang COA tungkol sa GASP na ito. What is your stand, Attorney
Ayun
Bakma?
po, another issue naman po yung mga beneficiaries that we identify na hindi naman belong to the underprivileged sector. Pero as to the eligibility of the ESC, maybe I can refer you to the DepEd na lang po mismo to...
So meron po kayo na plug down ng mga recipient na hindi naman underprivileged family.
Yes po, we have quantified po. Pero with the assumption po kasi na yung mga, kasi di ba po, yung mga graduating elementary schools will be parang, ayan, isa-subsidized through ESC for them to enroll in a private junior high school.
So meron kayo na plug ng mga estudyante na hindi dapat makatanggap sapagkat they don't belong to that underprivileged class.
Hindi, ayun nga po. Ang assumption po kasi namin, yung mga estudyante coming from the private elementary schools have the capacity and the ability to pay yung tuition nila and will not need the ESC or the ESC financial assistance. So yun po yung in-identify namin yung mga private elementary school graduates that receive ESC allocation or ESC ay nag-benefit dun sa ESC program, somewhat parang hindi belonging to the underprivileged yet they receive the financial assistance from DepEd through ESC. Same with the senior high school voucher program.
Okay, so since sila ay nasa private school na, that means they can afford and they're not supposed to be underprivileged coming from the poorest of the poor, so to speak. And yet nakaka-receive pa rin sila ng benefits mula sa ESC program.
Yes po. Pero kasi po, ang ano po kasi ng DepEd, preference lang daw po, yung tineterm kasi nila na underprivileged yung magiging beneficiaries ng GASP program, not really requiring yung mga schools na yung ipa-priority will be the underprivileged mga students po. That's why in their eligibility criteria, wala ding parang criterion for the level of income of the family.
Okay.
So yun.
So as Sec bring us, siguro tama yung tanong para sa iyo, itong concern ni Mr. Llave. Paano niyo ba na-identify whether or not ito pong mga nakatanggap ng subsidy ay qualified o hindi?
Sige po. Okay, Mr. Chair, Mr. Senator, for the, balikan ko lang po para to proper context din po, no, yung RA 8545 states like the preference lang po of underprivileged. So with that, hindi naman po talaga sinabi na only underprivileged po, preference po. So in the ESC po, this is from the subsidy that we give for junior high school. Pag kayo po ay isang learner from the public elementary, grade 6, and then you will be promoted to grade 7. Pag galing po kayo ng public school, automatic na po na pasok po kayo doon sa as ESC grantee. For all others po, sa ating guidelines, current guidelines natin, sir, meron po tayong tinatawag na school committee. The school committee is composed of the school head, principal, and then parang parent association po sa school. And then they will be the ones to check po kung ano po yung, if that person is okay ba ito sa financial capacity within the private school.
So, yun ba'y income based ng household para malaman kung qualified ba siya,
Apo.
yung estudyante?
Well, to be ano talaga with this Senator Raffy, I have not yet gone to the school committee talaga na to check how they ano tawag doon, they evaluate the students. But I think of course finances po ang isa sa mga criteria po doon.
So meron ba kayong sineset na how much dapat yung halimbawa ang bracket is nasa income mo below 15,000 para ma-qualify ka, pero kung umabot ka ng 20,000 above, hindi ka naman dapat qualified kasi can't afford ka na, things like that. Walang ganong.
Wala po
So,
tayong ganon as of now,
So
Senator.
preference lang.
Preference lang po talaga. And
Pa-
there's no ano po
Para-
set amount.
Pero don't you think dapat meron na para maging malinaw?
Yes po, Mr.
Engineer
Senator.
transparency?
Oo, in fact po.
Kasi maraming mga talagang mahirap na mga estudyante deserving sa kanila na kailangan na ng support sa ating gobyerno na para mapunta sa private school, para mas ma-enhance yung kanilang learning, yung kanilang skills, etc. etc.
Yes
So
po.
dapat sinasara talaga. Kasi
Yes.
yung mga nasa private schools na can afford na sila, especially kung nag-umpisa sa grade 1 private school, nilagay na sa private school yung kanilang anak, can afford na talaga sila kung
Correct
tutuusin.
po. Correct po, Mr. Senator. That's why po, in aid of legislation, this was also mentioned or discussed in CBEC po, Mr. Chair, that they, in the latest draft po ng kanilang bill, House Bill, linagay na po nila dito yung parang criteria sa the family should be part of nasa ano, based on Philippine Statistics Authority na lower level income class, linagay na po dito sa amending the 8545 din
Pero
po.
pwede ako mag-suggest, instead na kayo po ay mag-subsidize ng mga estudyante sa private school para umakyat sila sa junior high, bakit hindi na lang po mula sa mga public schools? Mag-concentrate na tayo lahat sa mga public schools.
Sa publics, what do you mean, sir?
Kasi di ba
Because
ngayon
the-
sabi mo meron kayong subsidies doon sa mga estudyante sa private schools, di ba?
That's
Nagbibigay
right.
ka ng subsidies, tulong,
That's right po.
di ba, under this program. So, bakit hindi tayo mag-focus na lang concentrate sa mga estudyante sa public schools? Because ito yung mga sa public schools, talagang mostly sila ay galing sa mga mahirap na pamilya.
Does that mean po ba, sir? Kasi in the public school naman, sir, we give them free tuition naman po yan. Wala naman po silang binabayaran.
I know,
So,
pero ibig sabihin, yung bang sila is subsidize yung kanilang paglipat sa private school. Bigyan sila opportunity na matikman man nila ang private school education.
Apo, yan po yun, sir, actually.
Hindi kasi sinabi mo kanina, meron mga estudyante sa private school na umaangat lang, umaakyat from grade 7 at pupuntang junior high na nakakatanggap
Ano po
ng
yung
subsidies pa rin.
Yung kaninang minention ko po, Senator, those are the graduates of public public grade 6,
Okay.
napupunta po sila ng private na grade 7, sila po yung kasama sa
Yun
ating
naman
mga
talaga,
grantees.
yun naman talaga ang purpose niya, di ba?
Opo,
Para sa
opo.
debt congestion.
Tama
Pero I
po.
think I've heard you kanina na meron yung mga nasa private school na aangat, private school aangat, the same school, na maging junior high sila, and they still receive,
That's right po, opo.
di ba? Kaya yung
Apo.
sinasabi ko na imbis na mag-concentrate kayo doon sa pagbibigay ng grants o tulong sa mga estudyante na nag-start na sa private school, now we know na
Mhm.
sila ay nasa can afford level ng family.
Opo, opo.
Doon tayo mag-focus na lang sa mga public schools na para mabigyan ng opportunity ito
Mm.
mga anak na mahirap na makatikim naman ng private education.
Yes, yes, Senator, I got you po. Sa current naman po natin, mas marami pa po yung ating mga public grade 6 learners na grantees po ng ESC versus those na nasa private po, sir. So mas malaki naman po ang proportion wise, mas madami po yung ating public school learners, completers ng grade 6 who is a beneficiary po. But of course, we will take note of your recommendation then also, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
With the permission of Senator Tulfo, just some basic question. What is the objective of the ESC and the voucher? What is the objective? What is the fundamental objective of these two programs? Kasi if you look at the budget, 38 billion goes to these two programs out of the 40. So majority of the GASP budget goes to only two programs, the ESC and the voucher. What is this for?
Mr. Chair, the original intent of the law really for the ESC and the voucher is for excess learners in the public schools to be subsidized for their enrollment in the private schools
So decongestion.
to decongest
Okay.
the public schools.
Yes.
So dyan lumabas noon yung term na IELTS students.
Correct.
Oo.
Okay.
So we have IELTS students and they are certified by the superintendent, for example, that they can no longer be accommodated in the public schools. Therefore, they are recommended to go to the nearest private school and be a grantee of the subsidy. That's starting the ESC that would be starting with the first year or the
Okay.
grade 7.
Okay. So the objective is to decongest.
Yes, primarily, Mr. Chair. So that when they are enrolled in grade 7 as a grantee, that will continue on until grade 12 for the voucher program.
Okay.
So when they are ESC recipients from grade 7 to grade 10 from the public schools or from the private schools, they are ESC grantees, then they are automatic grantees as well for 11
Okay.
and 12.
Is that the only objective, to decongest? How about equity considerations?
Well, equity consideration, Mr. Chair, meaning pagdating sa senior high school kasi since we have also congestion in the senior high school, kaya meron din tayong senior high school voucher na open for those who are not grantees of the ESC.
Okay, but is equity part of the objective? Meaning we give the poor the priority? Is that part of the objective of ESC and voucher program?
I think that should be the spirit of the law, that we give
But is it the
subsidy.
objective?
It should be. That is why I think in aid
It
of
is
leg-
is in the law. It's not.
Yeah.
It should be not. It's in the law. It's in RA
8545.
45.
Yeah.
Saan na yung batas? This is where Attorney Tara and I differ in interpretation. Preference shall be given to students whose family income is not more than 72,000 pesos. I would assume this is annual, no? So by this provision, the spirit of the law is already giving priority to the poorest of the poor. And I think it's embedded in all of us, no? We all know that resources are scarce. We all know that during budget season, we all fight for resources. And the meager resources that we get, the allocation should be prioritizing the poor. I think that is already given in all of our policy making activities, in our budgeting, in all of our activities as public officials. Now, the reason why they put preference here, this is semantics. You can say preference lang naman to, hindi naman to mandated. But the mere fact that the law specified that preference should be given to these families, that means we have to address them first. Do we all agree in that, Attorney Tara? Okay, can you respond through the mic?
Yes, of course, Mr. Chair.
I think nagse-semantics tayo na sa preference, hindi naman to mandate. But I think as public servants and as workers of government, and we all know that the resources are scarce, we have to allocate it first to the poor. We agree on that, correct? Is
Yes,
that
Mr.
being
Chair.
addressed right now? And that's in line with Senator Tulfo's question, and that's also in line with the findings of GOA. Are we addressing or are we prioritizing the poor first in our ESC program and also our voucher program?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair. We are prioritizing.
And do you have a policy that instructs the schools who distributes the ESC to address the poor first?
First is with the ESC, Mr. Chair, we have the automatic grantees who are the completers from grade 6. For the senior high school voucher program, we also have
No, for ESC first. For
for
ESC.
ESC, yes po. For ESC po, automatic naman po yung ating mga learners who are graduates from grade 6 ng public po to become ESC grantees. Automatic po sila.
Yeah, but are these students from poor families?
They're from public schools, sir. They completed from kinder to grade 6.
But pwede rin naman yung private to private, di ba? Sa ESC?
Yes, sir. But those are just the slots na ina-evaluate ng school committee.
Oo nga, but pwede rin na existing private student, private
Yes,
school student, availing the ESC,
pwede din po,
correct?
Mr. Chair.
But I think is there a policy? Is there a policy to our schools that's saying you have to prioritize the poor first? Unahin niyo muna yung pinakamahirap. Is there a policy coming from DepEd or PEAC saying that the poor should be prioritized first?
The law is already giving that
No, yes
guideline.
or no? Is there a policy? Is there guidelines?
For the ESC, I
Or
have yet
did you give the school council, ano yun sa school?
school committee po.
School committee council the freedom to do that, to choose?
May preference pa rin po.
Yeah,
Yes po.
iba na yung preference, iba yung actual eh.
Yes, opo.
Iba yung actual eh. Because our data is showing otherwise.
The categorical statement siguro, Mr. Chair, that only or preference really to the poor in the guidelines, I don't think it is stated there. That's why we also studied all the performance din po ng GASPE, and we are
So, but
actually
is there
drafting.
clear instruction to the schools to prioritize the poor? Yun lang a simple question.
Sir, can I get back to you on that? Kasi I have to
Sige, get
refer
back
to
me
the
because I'll show you a
department
slide.
order.
Ito is Senator Tulfo, we got this from Philippine Statistics Authority. And we use the current poverty thresholds right now of 12,000. In 2021, 2022, 68% of the ESC grantees come from non-poor families. They come from non-poor families. And I'll give you, and hindi kami nagkakaiba ng COA. In fact, COA mentioned here, ito, nakasulat. I'll read it. For the past 6 school years, DepEd paid approximately 4.7 billion pesos and 10.2 billion pesos to ESC and senior high school VP participating schools respectively. This means that about 14 billion were given to non-poor beneficiaries. Kaya hindi na kami nagkakalayo. And then I'll show you the peso value of those non-poor students in the next slide. So in the next slide, just for 2021, 2022 to 2020, 21, 22, lumalabas na the leakage is this one, 4.5. On the high, the max side, 8 billion pesos went to non-poor. 8.6 billion pesos went to non-poor. On the high, kasi iba-iba yung binibigay na subsidies, di ba? And this is, kasi sa PSA, sa APs, they ask the respondents, ESC grantee ka ba o hindi? Sabi niya, ESC grantee po ako. Anong income level mo? Tinatanong niya. So you can calculate using PSA. You see? So lumalabas, balik nga sa isang salita, lumalabas, the majority of our ESC grantees are from non-poor families. Because nga, basically, sinabi nyo kasi, Attorney Tara kanina, preference lang naman. Hindi siya mandated. So dahil preference lang naman, kinuha nila yung mga non-poor students. Nagka-leakage ngayon ang gobyerno ng 8 billion.
I understand, Senator Win. The current guidelines po kasi natin sa ESC no is in the year 2017. And this guideline provided here that shall give preference to graduates of public elementary schools. And then the school committee shall profile and assess the students considered for ESC grants. There is a gap actually in the guidelines as well, Senator. That's why it is also this administration's objective to revise the guidelines, specifically to be in line with the law and the spirit of the law, which is really to prioritize or to lean to the poor students, poor learners.
Maybe this is the height of injustice. Humingi tayo ng pera, binibigay natin sa hindi mahihirap. And us as taxpayers, we're subsidizing the non-poor because of that gap that you mentioned. And that gap that you mentioned, the value of that is 8 billion pesos. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lem.
If I may, Chairman Win, actually, we check yung mga department orders on GASP program, and yun nga, there's no eligibility criterion as to the household income level, checking the household income level of the family, applying for the ESC and even senior high school voucher program. But in the previous DepEd orders from 1992 to 1990, school years 1992 to 1993 and to school years 1997 to 1998, DepEd were able to include some sort of criterion about that the overflow students whose family income is not more than 36,000 per annum shall be given preference in the selection of ESC grantees. But in the latter issuances or department orders as to the selection of ESC grantees, it was already removed. That's why the school committees who evaluates the application of the ESC grantees has unbridled discretion as to who will receive ESC the ESC slots. So even if since there's no criterion that they need to check the income level, so full discretion na sa kanila, even if hindi mahirap, they will give it to students that are not underprivileged. Also, we interviewed some of them na parang ang nangyayari, though ito kasi may testimonial evidence lang, na there are schools na meron di bang elementary schools na in junior high schools na parang automatic na lang nagagawin na lang nilang beneficiary din yung mga private na schools, there are private schools na yung estudyante na nila ng elementary schools will be automatically parang i-apply na nila as ESC grantees for their junior high school. So mauubusan na ng slot yung ibang interested public elementary high school graduates to enter into the private junior high school when they graduate the elementary school po. So yun po.
I'll show you, I saw an advertising, slide 30. This is a school. Slide 30. This is from a school, Juan Sumulong Memorial Junior College. And nakasulat dito, good news. Non-ESC students from grades 8 to 10 can now apply for ESC subsidy. So 8 to 10 are existing students, tama? Attorney Tara?
I think that is during the pandemic,
No,
Senator.
this is school year 2022-2023. We just got this from the internet.
I think we were able to consider po kasi the request of private schools, Senator Win, because during the pandemic they had a very low ano tawag doon, very low enrollment.
Enrollment.
So meron po kaming ang department po nag-issue po ng interim dyan po na for school year nakalimutan ko lang, that's 2 school years po na pwede po silang gamitin po nila yung hindi nila nagamit na mga slots before, gamitin po sa 8 to
Yeah,
8 to 10.
but these are existing students already. Nakapasok na sila eh. They're non-ESC. They're existing students already. They're currently students.
Yes.
And they can apply for subsidy.
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
So in other words, nakapasok na sila, Senator Tulfo, sa school.
Mm-mm.
Diba? In a private school. And they can apply for a subsidy. So obviously, I mean, common sense, if they're in the private school, hindi sila in the poor category kasi they can pay the tuition fee. But and yet they can still apply for additional 9, tawag nga nila 9,000 tuition discount. Discount, not subsidy, discount.
Mr. Chair, yan sinasabi ko kanina.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sige,
go ahead, go ahead.
Now, yan exactly sinasabi ko na nasa private school na sila and yet sila ay nabibigyan pa rin ng subsidy from the government when they don't obviously belong to what we call poor of the poor. Dapat nga talagang priority natin para sa mga mahirap tulad sinabi nyo kanina. So maganda po yung question nyo, Mr. Chair. Yun yung sinasabi ko rin kanina. Go ahead, Attorney Rama.
Thank you. Yes,
Senwin and Senator Tulfo, no, while we understand really, no, that we should be supporting the poorest of the poor, no, because that really is supposedly what should be prioritized, and this is in the law itself, no. But over time, what we have seen is that the amount of the subsidy at 9,000, 11,000, 13,000 is very small compared to the average tuition fee in the schools, no, in private schools where they will transfer. Therefore, there actually is a top up that the parents will have to pay. That's why earlier when we were saying, bakit may cost efficiency ito, even if the based on GAA cost of a student estimated by ADB was like 21,000, kasi nagdadagdag ang mga magulang dun sa 18,000 na voucher at yung 13,000 na ESC. In other words, as early as I think 2016, no, we were already discussing with DepEd, can we do a study of fully rationalizing the amount of the ESC so that we can really ensure that the poorest of the poor can be, can actually transfer to a private school. Obviously, 13,000 in NCR will not be enough. Now, why is it that meron din ganong decision-making ang mga schools? Because they are penalized if they do not have a completion rate of at least 90%. Kasi ang programa, kapag nandyan ka ng 7, tuloy-tuloy yan hanggang 10. At kapag mahirap ka at wala kang ibang support, tulad ng pamasahe, tulad ng pambili ng libro, baka hindi ka rin makatapos ng grade 10. Then your program becomes a failure all over again. Now,
So
for-
yung pinopoint kasi ni Senator Win, ma'am, and tulad ng sinabi ko na kanina, Ms. Ferrer, nasa private school na sila. So the fact na nasa private school na sila, in-enroll sila ng kanilang mga magulang sa private school, ibig sabihin ito mga estudyante, magulang ng mga estudyante ito, can afford na sila. They don't obviously belong to what we call the poorest of the poor. So therefore, bakit pa natin sila bibigyan ng grant? Sana mag-concentrate tayo, tulad sinabi ko early on, doon na lang talaga sa mga public schools. Na alam naman natin, karamihan dyan, talagang mahirap. Sila na yung dapat qualified na ma-transfer sa private school through this grant. Kasi kasama nga dyan yung proof of income of parents guardian, kasama dito sa evaluation ninyo. So ang nangyari, base sa pumunta lang kasi ako sa labas. Pagpasok ko, nakita ko na, at nasabi naman kanina, earlier, so yung mga estudyante na nasa private schools na pinag-a-apply at some of them or all of them ay nabibigyan ng grant to move up. Yun yun. So, ang point ko rito from early on, pag nasa private school na sana, baka wag na muna, doon na lang muna sa public na mga estudyante. Kasi most of these students comes from the what we call poorest of the poor family.
Sen. Tulfo, kasama po yan sa magiging rationalizing natin.
Okay.
Kasi right now, hindi nga talaga maka-attract ang isang private school ng isang bata from public kung ibibigay niya 13,000 at ang amount ng tuition and other fees niya 40,000. Yan ang NCR average. Kaya,
Oh, ma'am, ang sinasabi kasi, kung tama pagkaintindi ko, pagdating ko rito, lumabas lang kasi ako, na nasa private school na yung mga bata from grade 1,
Apo.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Pagdating ng 10 to 11,
Ma'am.
sila ay kina-qualify, ginagawang qualified para makareceive ng grant under the ESC program. Tama? Senator Win, na kung akong tatanungin at si Senator Win, wag na sana. Kasi from the very beginning, sila ay nasa private school na afford nila na igapang yung kanilang mga anak from grade 1 up to grade, kung ano man yun, sa junior high. So dapat mag-concentrate na lang tayo doon sa mga mahirap na coming from the public school. Na alam na natin from the start, sila nagpa-enroll doon ng mga anak nila sa public schools because hindi sila ganun ka can afford.
Senator Tulfo, naiintindihan ko po ng pinanggagalingan nyo, no? Pero hindi naman exactly kasi consistent ang congestion problem natin dun sa consideration natin in terms of equity. Kasi kung hindi natin sila tatanggapin, yung 65% as of this current school year na galing public, congested na naman ang public kung hindi sila kukuhanin ng private.
No, ma'am.
No.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Sorry po. Hindi po Di ba ang purpose nitong program na pinag-usapan natin ngayon is to decongest public schools.
Yes.
So therefore, dapat nakatuon tayo sa public schools para ma-decongest sila, ma-transfer to private.
Opo.
Ang nangyari, base sa narinig ko ngayon, galing na sila sa private,
Opo.
iaangat sila ng level sa same school, and yet they receive that grant na supposed to be para sa mga poor, the poor.
Yes, Sen Tulfo, kasi po hindi mabubuo ng eskwelahan yung slots niya kung hindi siya kukuha sa sarili niyang estudyante na based on income documents nangangailangan din. So siguro ang isang pwede kong sabihin, income documents. Nagsasubmit ho kasi ang mga bata.
Okay, ano po yung mga income documents?
Ng income documents.
Ano po yung mga income documents sinasabi?
ITR, and then the,
Right.
yun ho, sinasabi
So yung
nila
mga
sa school
magulang po sa
selection.
public schools, wala rin ba may sasabit na
Nagbibigay po sila sa school selection committees nila at the school level. Yun nga lang, hindi ho ganun kadaming public ang talagang willing lumipat kasi maliit lang yung subsidy. Yung eskwelahan ho, meron siyang fixed slot allocation na kapag hindi niya ho ginamit, mawawala sa kanya in the next year, and it will mean the utilization of GASP may even go down. Ito hong nangyari dito sa pandemic. Talagang nawalan ho ng estudyante
in
ang
that case, ma'am,
private.
kung sabi mo hindi enough, then make it enough for the
Correct.
students from the public school na yung subsidy nila enough na para
Tama
carry
po.
over up to the next level kung anumang grade sila umangat ng umangat.
Tama po,
Kasi kung
dapat
sabi niyo
taasan
kulang,
po.
kaya kayo pupunta sa private, mukhang
Kaya
may
nga
ata
po,
problema.
taasan po natin yung amount ng ESC
You
para
agree?
kung lumipat ang mga public school students at maka-complete sila until grade 10.
Correct.
Kasi
ma'am,
kung hindi, failed na naman.
kasi it defeats the purpose of us decongesting public schools para malipas sa private, kayo nagbibigay ng grants sa mga nasa private school na. Di ba?
I understand, ED Doris, with the permission of Senator I understand, Doris, where you're coming from kasi may fixed slot na Diba? Kailangan nila ibenta yung fixed slot na yon. No, not ibenta, but kailangan nila mag-attract. No? And the way to attract, kailangan nila ibenta. Correct? That's why nga mayroong discount in offer, which I find it really inappropriate because that money should be for the poor. It should not be given as a discount to the rich. Do you know where you're coming from? No, but nakita ko yung ano, but that's not a reason to tilt the objective of the law to address the poor first. Parang ang nangyari, hindi natin magastos yung pera, bigay na lang natin sa mayayaman. Ganun nangyari. Hindi natin magastos, hindi natin mapuno yung slot, bigay mo lang sa mayayaman as a discount. No? Which I think is morally incorrect. Not only morally incorrect, it's also against the law because the law is very clear. Their preference to be given to those earning 72,000 annually. So, and for me, as a taxpayer, lahat naman tayo taxpayer, no, I would rather put my hard-earned taxes to prioritize the poor, because that's what's, as public servants, we have to practice equity. We have to practice equity.
Kasi parang lumalabas dito, Mr. Chair, parang pinipilit nila magastos, maubos yung pondo. Kasi meron tinatawag na quota. E di, kung ganun pala yung ano natin para ubusan lang ng pondo, lumilitaw na parang nagwawaldas tayo. Kasi going back again to the purpose of the program is para supportan yung mga mahirap natin mga kababayan, mga pamilya ng mga mahirap na estudyante.
Last na lang po, sana rin maging objective ng programa na actually hindi siya nakasulat kasi nauna to, no? ESC really service contracting congestion is support for private. Kasi sa private schools ho, yung misconception na lahat ng nandyan mayaman, hindi ho totoo yan. At ang pangalawa ho, yung mga estudyante na nasa private, pag hindi mo binigyan ng ESC, pwedeng umalis yan sa private pagdating ng junior high kasi nahihirapan din ho sila. So those are the things that we will have to my mind, rationalize.
Please, ako personally, Senator Tulfo, this is my position. It's irrelevant where the student is coming from, whether public or private. For me, that's irrelevant. Importante poor siya. And importante supported siya by documents. That's what's important for me. But even COA, in the COA report, nakasulat dito, there's no policy. There's no policy to address the poor. Well, it's here in the COA report. Tama ba, Mr. Laliabe?
Yes po.
But there's no policy to address the poor. So that's what's missing. No? That's what's missing. So irrelevant sa akin if it's existing student siya from the private, that's fine. As long as you demonstrate that student is poor. But kasi common sense sa atin, it's common trend that if you're from the public school, poor ka. Most likely poor ka. Most likely. Hindi naman lahat, no? Most likely. No? So that is the benchmark that we are using. No? So Father Delvo, and then we go to Attorney Tara. And then...
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Rafi. I would like to humbly reiterate, not all schools belonging to Kukupayan Sayap are wealthy, ano, at saka mahirap din po ito, mga parochial schools po ito, mga mission schools. And then we also have scholars who are giving scholarship full-time and partial. So ganun din po. And then I agree with both of you that we have to be stricter with regard to determining whether or not our students in private education really deserve and qualified. I'm for that also. Kaya lang, I would like to reiterate po, we are not all Ateneo, Lasal, Xavier. Mga parochial schools po ito, mission schools sa rural areas pa. Yan po ang ikukonsider natin. Thank you. And if I may allowed to add, to lessen the congestion in public schools, I think I suggest we increase the the assistance from government so that they can transfer to the private education. Kasi may tatap up po kami ng konti. Our electricity, air conditioning, ibang mga kwarto. Then the amenities inside the classrooms are better than some of the public schools. So we require some top up. Pag hindi lang kayong top up, hindi na po sila mag-aaral din sa amin.
Mr. Chair, I do agree 100% sa sabi ni Father. Kailan siguro madagdagan pa yung budget. Totally agree ako dyan. Pero kailangan in the name of transparency, dumaan sa COA.
Yes, yes.
You agree, Father?
Yes po, 100% po.
Thank you, Father.
Attorney Tara, you're raising.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Senator Raffy. I would just like to clarify po, no, yung nakita po natin na advertisement ng school. This is in relation to the DepEd Order number 12, 2023 that we issued. This is regarding po yung mga approving or allowing the ESC participating schools to bill grades 8 to 10. So ang sabi po natin doon kanina is that they are already existing. However, I would like to just manifest in this committee, Mr. Chair, that we do have a criteria for accepting doon po doon sa mga grades 8 to 10. So here po in the DepEd order, we said an ESC participating school shall be allowed to have new ESC grantees in the higher grade levels, which is grade 8 to 10, for school year 2022 and 2023 and 2023 to 2024, provided the school has available grade 7 slots. Ito po yung slots na hindi nga po nagamit, Mr. Chair, because hindi po naglipatan po yung mga private school students to public schools actually during the pandemic. So this is our help din po to the learners. Even they were in private schools before, they were heavily affected by the pandemic. So, hindi po natin masasabi na yung pong mga middle class po or hindi naman po mayayaman ay naapektuhan din po during the pandemic. So, here po, in the selection of grantees for the grades 8 to 10, the following prioritization shall be observed. Number 1 is transfer in students from public high schools. So, yung galing po sa public na kasi mga po private tapos nag-public po sila. So, we allow them to be grantees, non-ESC students in the same ESC participating school whose family were significantly affected by the pandemic. So, yun po yung na-mention din po ni Father and ni ED Doris that hindi po lahat ng private schools po ay mayayaman po yung mga estudyante. Actually, again, there are a lot of small schools po na parochial schools outside of the city who are also participating in our grantees po. So that's to clear lang po yung naging discussion kanina, no, why we allow the grades 8 to 10, and there is in fact a prioritization based on the department order po that we issued.
Currently, is there a strict mandate to prioritize the poor?
I would like to state Senator Win that as to the ESC guidelines, the very latest, no, there is none. That's in 2017 it was issued. That's why nga po in this administration where the GASO is also newly created, we are working on revising
So
this po.
right now, there's none. Currently,
In the ESC po,
and
none
that's
po.
that's consistent with the findings of COA.
Yes.
Correct. That's
Correct.
that's why nga we invited COA to shed light on this issue.
Mm-mm.
So our recommendation, I think this is also the recommendation of Senator Tulfo, is to prioritize the poor. That's it. Let's prioritize the poor.
Yes. Although there is sorry po, Senator Win, although in the ESC guidelines, there is that, the prioritization of public school grade 6 completers. But specific to the poor and the income of the family, there is none po.
I think we should be more granular because kung sinasabi nyo, there are also poor students in private schools. Maybe in public schools, there are also non-poor students. So let's be as specific as possible.
We will
general-
place that in the
not general,
guidelines po.
let's be, but the bottom line here is let's stay consistent with the spirit of the law, and also as public servants who practice equity in our country. Let's prioritize the poor. And it for me nga, it's irrelevant where they coming from. It's important that we prioritize them because that is we allocate billions of pesos to this program, but 8 billion goes to non-poor. And consistent, it's in COA's report, it's 14 billion ang kanilang report. In our own calculation is 8 billion. So we want to see a revision in your policy and clearly stating that the poor should be prioritized.
Most definitely, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Okay, I do agree na merong mga estudyante like what father said sa mga private schools, yung mga parochial schools na anak ng mga mahirap. On the other hand, meron din ilan dyan sa public schools na hindi naman talaga sila anak na mahirap, kundi may sinabi rin naman, they just prefer public schools. That's why pagdating sa mga ESC programs, mga grants na binibigyan natin, dapat may nakaset na amount na kung saan masasabing qualified yung isang estudyante. Diba yung nabanggit ka na sa isang batas na dapat 6,000 ang income and below. So dapat meron tayong nakaset na amount for you to be qualified under that program for that grant coming from the ESC at kung ano pang ibang programa ng gobyerno. Sa ngayon, wala ata. Tanggap lang kayo ng tanggap. Paano bang screening ginagawa nyo bago ma-qualify isang estudyante? Tinitingnan nyo ba yung ITR ng magulang ng estudyante? Do you do that?
Yes, yes po. Currently, meron naman po tayo, specifically the senior high school voucher. They submit talaga po yung income na ano po nila so that we will be able to determine if they really need the voucher po, Mr. Senator.
Okay. So in that case, kung nagsasabit kayo ng ITR para sa qualification ng estudyante para makatanggap ng voucher, so dapat maging stricto tayo. Yun din sinasabi ko ni Senator Win para masiguro at masabi sa kanila lahat na ito ay pang mahirap lang at priority kay mga mahirap. Kasi naman kung halimbawa kumikita ng 20,000 ang household, isang household o 50,000 and then nabibigyan pa rin ng grant, hindi na tama yun. Mali na yun, yung direction na yun.
Another issue that Go raised with the permission of Senator Tulfo, in this highlights nakasulat dito. However, we observe that DepEd has limited data on the program's effects on congestion of public school and does not have adequate and suitable performance indicators. Are we solving congestion through these programs? Do we have evidence saying that these programs indeed alleviate the congested schools? And I'll show you a slide on the congestion, in congestion. Yeah, junior high school. So slide 12. If you look at slide, we got this from the DepEd DepEd data. Slide to yan. So ito junior high school lang to junior high school. Sorry, 22 pala. So in slide 22, 72% of NCR junior high school is considered congested. BARMM is considered congested, 71 schools of BARMM. And then Region 10, 50% of our schools, 50% of our schools are considered congested. So in other words, if I will be looking at this program, the concentration should be in congested areas. But based on the COA findings, there is no policy study guide as to where the ESC and the voucher program should be implemented. It's parang lumalabas, it's there's no clear guidelines. So do we have a mechanism to address and to tilt these programs to congested areas? Is that also pronounced in your department orders?
Well, obviously, Mr. Chair, it's not in the current guidelines for the GASP, but we will make sure that in the revision that's currently undergoing now, we will show. We will put in the guidelines really the concentration of the GASP should really be in the areas where we see the greatest greater percentage of congestion. We have that same data, Mr. Chair, in the report that we submitted to you for elementary school, junior high school, and senior high school, where we showed you the number of congested schools and as per definition defined as per standards of class sizes by the department, Mr. Chair. So we see really, and we concur with the one that is on the board. For example, if I take into consideration the number of congested classrooms by level and by region, in here we have NCR, for example, we have 345 elementary schools. In junior high school, we have 189, and in senior high school, we have 134 congested classrooms as of 2021-2022 data.
So
Yeah.
shouldn't we pour all our resources to those congested areas?
It appears that in all regions there
Because
are
because if the objective is to decongest, shouldn't we put all of our effort to decongest the schools there?
yes, exactly, Mr. Chair. So if we will put names to these schools, we will be able to identify which schools really are congested, and we will look for private schools that are nearest to these schools,
It-
which would be the basis of the slots that will be given
In
for
fact, in the next
certain
slide,
schools. Yeah.
slide
Mr. Chair,
23.
pwede makasingit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so kasi ang pinag-usapan natin talaga to decongest public schools at uh, at karamihan diyan o malaking portion diyan ay Region 4A, NCR, BARMM, etc. Nakita ko dito sa CAR, saka sa Region 1, mukhang hindi sila decongested masyado, okay lang sila. So meron ba kayong programa diyan sa Region 1 at saka sa CAR dito sa mga wala nang problema sa congestion?
Well, these are not congested relatively to, I mean, compared to the other big regions, Senator, dahil sa CAR naman, meron tayong enough number of schools in the different areas, at siguro hindi ganun kataas yung ating population in
No,
terms
pero
of
sa
number
akin,
of learners.
kayo ba ay naglalagay ng budget dyan, ng voucher
Yeah, we do.
dyan sa CAR?
Yes, we do have voucher program
Sa
still
CAR.
with the Cordillera Administrative Region.
Okay.
Mr.
Yung sinasabi
Mr.
nga kanina
Senator.
ni Senator Win, mag-concentrate kayo doon sa areas na kung saan mataas yung problema ng congestion. Di ba? Doon kayo medyo bubuhos na malaking budget para doon sa voucher program.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Maybe that's what
yes,
you should
Senator.
concentrate. Doon sa mga hindi masyado issue yung congestion, medyo siguro kung bubuhos kayo, konting-kunti lang, more doon sa congestion lang na NCR, BARMM na kita mo yung red hanggang sa dulo na. Doon siguro medyo mag-focus ng inyong budget.
Yes, yes, Senator. We will follow the line of thinking of the good chair here, where we will equitably distribute slots depending on the level of congestion of specific regions, or more importantly, specific divisions for that matter, so that we can really target the schools with high congestion, Mr. Chair.
This is a very complicated formula, no? I know what Doris is thinking. It's very complicated to hit the equilibrium between congestion and equity, no? But I'll leave that to the experts too. You guys are the experts. You guys are, much more experienced. Find the equilibrium. I know it's going to be tricky and complicated, but the point here is we have very scarce resources. Let's prioritize the poor. Let's remain to our objective. Ito yung learners na na-mention nyo in slide 23. 32% of our students in Region 4A are considered aisle learners, meaning literally nag-aaral sila along the aisle, no? Not in the not in a comfortable place. This is at the ratio of 1:43, I think, no? So in other words, if you use 1:43, 319 learners in Region 4A are considered aisle learners, or hindi sila nasa classroom na 1:43. The same in NCR. So our point, Senator Tulfo and I's point is let's focus on these areas. If we have limited resources, i-boost natin dyan so that we solve the decongestion. At the same time, the policy is also clear with DepEd, with PEAC, and also with the implementing schools. So we call on Ms. Doris and then Dr. Carol.
Thank you, Senator Gatchalian, for the inputs. Thank you, Senator Tulfo, for the inputs. I will have to leave in a while, but Rod Malonzo will stay, our monitoring and processing unit officer. Thank you for the inputs. No, but just to affirm no the tension between ensuring that you solve congestion problems at the same time equity. NCR, for example, the average tuition of junior high schools participating in the ESC in NCR is about 42,000 pesos. And 13,000 as the amount of the ESC is too small. In other words, how many public school students are willing to pay a top up of 30,000 pesos? In other words, part of the rationalization, aside from congestion, not making sure that the congested areas are prioritized, is that we also look at the amount of the subsidy in different regions so that it will be more realistic in the sense and more implementable for a family in a private school to move to the private school, from public to the private school. And then second is the quality issue. Certification is part of the policy, and we've been lauding DepEd for putting this in place in the ESC. In other words, you have to be certified or quality assured in order to participate. A lot of schools, for example, in BARMM, are having difficulty getting themselves certified because they have difficulty complying with the standards of DepEd, in offering a junior high school program. Again, we can also do an initiative towards helping them with quality assurance, making them move in the direction of being fully compliant with the minimum standards. In other words, we appreciate this inquiry of the Senate towards rationalizing the GASP program insofar as what exactly do we want to accomplish here, and then how do we allocate the slots and the amount of the subsidy. One last, yung tulong sa private, pwede bang isama sa objectives? Hindi lang mag-decongest tayo ng public, pero paano matutulungan, lalo na yung mga private schools na nangangailangan din naman ng support ang mga estudyante nila. Part of the rationalization can solve that. We can think of percentage shares. Ilan ba ang pwede pang bigyan in private schools ng ESC at ng voucher? Tapos anong eligibility ng mga bata for them to be able to also enjoy this grant from government? Salamat, Sen Gatchalian and Sen Tulfo.
Dr. Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to also drive home the point that you are making, we prepared a slide that just shows the top congested municipalities in the country. So we found in our analysis using data from DepEd and PEAC that there are 149 municipalities with very congested junior high schools and very few voucher programs. What we are showing to you is the top 30 municipalities, and what we did was to compute the municipality level ratio. So as high as 1 is to 519 in Pandami, Sulu, but also 1 is to 398 in Los Baños, Laguna. What we're also showing here is that there are areas where there are ESC private schools, but there are more private schools that could be tapped to already address the congestion. So we highlighted those in yellow. Tulad ng sinabi po ninyo, Region 4A, talagang maraming ganito, and NCR. So next slide. So in Cainta, Rizal, 1 is to 126. There are only 14 ESC private schools, but there are 40 private schools that could be supported to also get certified and also receive vouchers to reduce congestion in these areas. And also areas like Cordoba, Cebu, Noveleta, Cavite. Next slide. Imus, Cavite. Again, napakarami pong schools. 27 yung ESC private schools, pero 60 yung actual private schools in the area. And the shifting is double, and the ratio is 1 is to 112. So these are 30 municipalities na very granular yung perspective natin. Talagang malala ang congestion. Meron pang capacity ang private, and sana may proactive measures to engage further so that we could already directly address congestion in these communities. But the second point that we wanted to highlight are there are areas also with severe congestion but no private schools. And for these areas, we might need to prioritize that in terms of school building, or we need to explore other forms of engaging private. In our discussions on complementarity with experts from all over the world on public-private partnerships who came here 2 weeks ago, pwede po tayong magbigay ng loans, pwede tayong magbigay ng grants to encourage private to establish in areas na kung matatagalan tayong mag-build ng schools. Kasi malala po talaga yung congestion at sana makahanap tayo ng ibang paraan para matugunan talaga yung pangangailangan ng mga estudyante if we are thinking of further areas of improving legislation.
Yeah.
Next slide.
Yeah, so sir, po yung
Yes po.
makasingit before I go kasi meron pa akong isang meeting. Mr. Chair, nabanggit kanina na yung nagbibigay na subsidy, voucher, dito sa mga estudyante galing sa public going to private para ma-decongest nga itong public schools are not enough, kulang. So, kung ganon, paano magiging successful ang programang ito na baka later on, ito mga talagang mahirap, poorest of the poor, 6,000 ang income ng household, hindi na sila magkukontinue kasi sabihin nila, mag-aabono pa kami.
Right.
Samantalang sa private, sa public, hindi na kami mag-abono. So how do you address that issue? Pangalawa, nasabi nyo, kung minsan meron mga probinsya na gusto nyo tulungan na walang walang private school na paglilipatan. Then, mag-build na lang kayo ng building.
Yes po.
Kaysa pilitin nyo, maghanap
Exactly.
kayo ng eskwelahan.
Exactly.
So, doon muna sa unang issue, kung kulang pala,
Kung kulang po at may private schools, what PEAC and DepEd can do, can work closely with the private school so that they reach the level of quality that is needed for certification para yung mga estudyante.
kasi pinag-usapan kanina yung budget. Father nag-agree sa akin na hindi enough kung minsan yung binibigay na subsidy.
Yung subsidy amount.
So kung
Yes.
hindi enough, baka bandang huli, mabibigatan yung mga magulang. Nasa private school kami, wala kaming binabayaran, libre. Pagdating sa private, oo nga, salamat, nasa private school ang anak namin. Pero mag-aabono pa kami. Although pasok sa
Yes.
programa, pero not enough
Yes.
being given to them. Baka umatras din tong estudyante, so hindi na maging successful
Totoo
yung
po yun.
programa nyo. Now, and I need to get data on that. Meron ba mga estudyante na umaatras na nasa loob na ng programang ito ng ESC, pero later on umatras dahil nahirapan din sila because it doesn't work for them.
Yes.
So do we have data?
Ay, sa
Pertaining
PEAC
to
po
that?
yun. Sa PEAC po yung data. So we will
Kaya
request for
sa
data
PEAC?
from PEAC to study.
Yeah.
Pero
Para
sir,
makita natin yung success rate. Diba?
yes. Pero yung ano po, yung best practice po on these type of programs around the world is that even if they are disadvantaged, they should have the choice of which school to attend. Yung ibig sabihin ng choice, hindi sila limitado ng dahil may top up, hindi na sila makakapunta sa isang school kung yun yung gusto nilang puntahan na maganda yung kalidad. So when we review either the DepEd policy or in the legislation, how do you actually enable the grantees to exercise choice also para hindi
Correct.
sila slotted into options
Correct.
just because yun yung
Yun nga,
mura.
yung iwasan natin na
So
later on,
kailangan pong i-review yun talaga.
yeah, na later on, atras sila, Mr. Teacher, dahil hindi nila ma-afford yun.
Yes.
So, babalik ulit sa public school.
Yes.
Or worse, mag-stop na lang sila. And I
Yes.
don't want that to happen.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
meron ba tayong record o data pertaining to that na yung mga estudyante na pasok sa PEAC na nakakatanggap ng voucher from public, lumipat sa private, and then later on, umaatras, huminto na, o bumalik ulit sa public schools, nag-drop out na, meron kayong mga data pertaining to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, with the permission of the chair. To address the question of Senator Tulfo, yes, we do have data, but we don't have it right now. But if we check the survival rates or completion rates of the ESC program from grade 7, the grade 7 cohort that steps into grade 10, that's about 89.6% of our grade 7 actually reach grade 10 for the ESC program.
So anong success rate nyo? Parang 89%? Is that what you say?
Yes po. When in terms of
Sabihin natin
completion,
90%. Okay.
Oo.
So what happens to those 10%? Bakit nagda-drop out?
10% we have to check kasi we also get data where they transfer to. Usually kasi they transfer back to public or they transfer to another private junior high school. But that's something that we have to compile first so that we can give you a better picture where they go when they transfer out, or if they do drop out, or if they drop out or transfer out in the middle of school year, where did they where did they go as well? So we can compile that data for the Senate.
So those kind of data and records, kung pwede, bigyan nyo rin ang COA. Is that okay? COA? Magbibigay sila ng mga data from now on
Pahingin din kami.
tungkol dyan.
We'll also request for the data and to analyze. I think I just wanted to underscore your second point, no, Sen. I think napakagandang point nun kasi when we think of our budget for school building programs and where we will build it, sana hindi hiwalay sa pagsa-strategize kung saan yung vouchers. Kasi yun yung paraan para ma-solve yung congestion. Hindi pwedeng dalawang ibang opisina tapos hindi nagko-connect kung saan tayo nagbibigay ng vouchers at saan tayo nagbi-build ng schools. Kasi it should tell us saan urgent, kasi walang ibang provider. At yun sa ibang may provider, expand ng vouchers, kaya ba? May takers ba doon? At may capacity ba yung private school? So it should go hand in hand para matugunan talaga yung pangailangan ng mga estudyante na talagang IEL learners ng matagal.
Yeah, go ahead, Father.
If I may add, the private education naman willing to go down a bit with regard to tuition we're requiring our learners so that we can accommodate students coming from public government schools. So we can bring it down a bit, but we request that it be increased also a bit. Hindi masyadong malaki para mag-meet halfway na lang. And then, Mr. Senator, we also have the record of absorptive capacity going beyond just ASC. We have seats available that can be filled in by learners coming from public schools. And for sure, this will be more economical on the part of government rather than pure and simple build and build schools, additional schools for government. Parang ma-absorb siguro pa namin yan.
Thank you, Father. BARMM was mentioned a few times during the course of the hearing. And actually, to my surprise, BARMM is considered one area that is very congested. No? In fact, when I was looking at the data of BARMM, the problem there is children are not going to school. No? We saw that the participation rate is very low. But to my surprise, it's not only the participation is very low, schools are also congested. And maybe that's the reason why students are not going to school, because they feel that the schools are congested. So we're joined here by by Director Balawag of the BARMM. And any comments to our discussion?
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to extend the apology of our Honorable Minister for not being with us. But he sent us to be part of this committee hearing. And the ministry is with the Honorable Chairperson in this endeavor of proper implementation and monitoring of the E-GASTPE. We have seen that the programs were able to help the learners and help us to realize our objectives in passively decongesting or ensuring that in our area, in our region, no Bangsamoro learners will be left behind. There were issues being brought a while ago, and of course, with the presentation on screen, that it appears that BARMM is also one of the congested regions when it comes to population or learners. Meron lang nabanggit kanina, Honorable Chairperson, gaya yung sabi ni Ma'am that in BARMM, if I heard it right, many requirements were not complied. That is why they have challenges on the implementation of the program in the BARMM region. Baka po pwede lang malaman natin kung ano yung mga halimbawa ng mga requirements. At siguro we will be appealing that kung yung mga requirement ay medyo, kumbaga, alam naman natin yung context in the BARMM region, the context of the BARMM region ay medyo mahirap nga i-comply, baka may mga alternate doon sa requirement na pwede natin, kumbaga, maging, kung sakali, yun ang in compliance so to whatever is the requirement of the beneficiary of the program. Secondly, on the on the issue of the school building program, we submitted, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Senator Win, our position paper, as requested in the invitation last February 23. And part of our position paper is, of course, our appeal, to the government, in particular the DepEd, Central Office, to, of course, consider the school building program, to include the BARMM, because apparently, and as you see and observe doon sa screen kanina, talagang kami po ay kinakapos or kulang na kulang po yung school building ng ating mga paaralan, sa BARMM region, So this is our appeal, that the BARMM region be included, in the school building program, as well as the continuity of all other national programs, as embodied in the Bangsamoro Organic Law also, that the national program and projects, shall be continued, shall be continued to be funded by the national government without prejudice to the power of the Bangsamoro government to provide for supplemental funding for such programs and projects. So for the meantime, yan lang muna yung aming initial comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Balawag. But is it accurate? I saw in the presentation of Dr. Carol, can we flash that? That merong mga school doon, 1:100 plus? Can we flash the presentation from Dr. Carol? The first one, yan. 1:120. Is that per classroom? But what's that ratio? Student per classroom?
Yes, sir. The total number of students and the total number of classrooms for junior high school, and that is the average ratio.
I think that's, is that totoo ba yan? Like for example, in Basilan, in sa Lanao del Sur, Tawi-Tawi, meron pang 1 is for 438. In Sulu, one is for 590.
Mr. Chair, on that figure and data, with me is our planning also that maybe could shed light, because we also want to verify the data being presented by PEAC.
This is from EDCOM.
EDCOM, so that we could have an accurate data possibly. So with the kind permission of the chair, the planning officer of MBHT is with me to shed light. Yeah.
if
May I
you can
call
do
on Sir Jordan Pangilan, please?
Yeah. And like for example, in Sulu is 1:519.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jordan Pangilan, sir. Sir, ang tanong ko lang po dito, kung as of kailan po na-extract itong data, kasi per record po namin.
No, ang gusto ko lang malaman, is this an accurate picture of the classroom
No, sir.
situation in BARMM?
Actually, no, sir. Kasi ang maximum po namin sa BARMM is 1:60. Maximum.
Okay. Okay. So just send to the committee an updated figure on the ratio. Lahat na rin, no? Student to classroom,
Yes.
teacher to classroom, classrooms, so that our data will be updated.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is consistent with what we saw in the based on the information from DepEd, no? BARMM is number 2 in terms of congestion. So in other words, whether this is accurate or not, the BARMM area is
Yes,
congested.
yes, sir.
No? So that is a fact, no, based on the
Yes.
data.
We agree on that, Honorable Chair, and that is the very reason why we earnestly appeal, for consideration of the inclusion of the BARMM in the national program for school bidding. Thank you very much.
Asek, go ahead. You're raising your hands.
I was just asking if I may be clarified, this ratio would be translated into, like, for example, Sulu 1:519. That would translate to the the municipality Pandami that has a classroom shortage of 13. If that is how I interpret the ratio.
No, so our computation is the total number of JHS students in the public schools and also the number of available classrooms
Right.
there.
So if it's not really 519 in a single classroom, but that would mean there is a shortage of 13
Yes,
classrooms
yes,
in
yes.
that particular
And some of the
municipality.
students are probably studying
Yep.
under the tree
Yes.
or inside the basketball court
Mm-mm.
or
Maybe the IELTS student
IELTS
could
students,
also.
no?
Mm-mm.
But definitely there's a shortage.
Oo.
No?
And
That's-
and actually sir baka parehas yung data natin kasi this is also from the DepEd data.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be good to triangulate it with the BARMM data.
All right. Mr. Lalave, naputol kayo, no? You were narrating your findings. We were I think the last narration was about the equity side, no? So you can continue with your findings. Yeah.
Actually, medyo napasadahan na din po actually yung remaining findings. One is yung nga, prioritization ng mga underprivileged students. Though I made mention ko lang po na yung pagdating sa senior high school voucher program, in the early years of the implementation of the senior high school voucher program, initially the DepEd with the assistance of PEAC developed a formula based on family income, household size, amount of top-up paid, and per capita income. However, such formula was not used in the selection of the beneficiaries. Rather, lahat na lang ng senior high school voucher program applicants inaccept sa voucher program because of the availability of budget. So parang no need na to parang filter because available naman ang budget, ibigay na lang sa lahat po ng apply. So yun yung naging finding namin nung 2018. Pero yun na-mention nga po ni Attorney Rama earlier na now parang may some sort of filtering na dun sa pag-select ng senior high school voucher program because meron ng household income criterion in the selection of beneficiaries for senior high school voucher program. So yun lang po. Pero yun po yung mga major program. Pero aside doon, you may also refer to the PAU 2018-02 for the detailed findings dun sa GASP program na kinonduct namin in 2018. Also, made mention ko na din po na yung as to the information dissemination or awareness as to the program kasi there's a misconception that the GASP program is given by PEAC rather than DepEd. So, yung mga estudyante ang alam hindi DepEd ang nagbibigay ng GASP. So, dun sa mga na-survey naming students, 50% ang hindi alam na DepEd pala na program ito, rather coming from the PEAC. And even their parents, 60% only knows na I knew that the GASP program is under DepEd. Then the remaining 40%, iba na yung alam nilang implementor ng GASP program. So that would be all, Senator Win. Thank you po.
You also, in your report, there's also a recommendation to create a dedicated office, no? If we tackled that earlier, DepEd lacked a dedicated office to manage the program, leading to weak monitoring, inadequate data management, and unclear performance-based payment schemes for the co-implementer, PEAC. You also, in your report also, there's a absence of an information system strategic plan and weak input controls. Raise concerns about data accuracy and program efficiency. So may mga ganyan pang, there are other findings. But I think the
Yes.
major there is really the congestion, the equity, and the policy
Yes, as to the election of
to
the
those
office.
to that effect. No, I think those
Yes.
are the major.
Senator Win.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And are there any follow-up activities? This was done in 2018, and to credit DepEd, they have implemented reforms. Like for example, there's now an office, and there's now they issued succeeding policies. Are there any? Is there any subsequent performance audit to see whether they complied or not?
I actually, Senator Win, we annually follow up for the updated action plan on the status of the implementation of recommendations from the DepEd. And based on our follow-up in April 2022, there are 8 recommendations that they asserted that it's fully implemented, but we have yet to validate those assertions that they have implemented it. And there are also 8 ongoing implementation of recommendation, but there are no full-blown audit that has been conducted yet by the Commission on Audit to do the follow-up of the GASP program.
Okay, and this is apparently this is a special request, correct?
Yes,
Triggered
actually
by
it was
the-
requested by Secretary Biones during that time.
Okay, all right, okay. So may I request from DepEd to coordinate with the COA as to the implementation of the recommendation. To be honest, this committee refers to the COA report as a guide and also a very important report that gives us full view, no, on the implementation of GASPE. And we will use that to propose mandatory legislation or to recommend policy to DepEd, and we will use that report as our a guide, no, to do our next steps. So in order to give us an accurate picture of DepEd's compliance, please coordinate, no, and see whether you have already complied with some of the recommendation. If not, then what are the reasons for that? Yes, Ms.
May I add, Mr. Chair? Actually, we have the DepEd invited us last October for a meeting regarding the GASP policy, but we have not received any updates on that meeting.
Na lang kayo link up, no? Because obviously the issue here, and we will take this very, very seriously, is the issue of equity. That's number one, and congestion. And we want to see policy changes to that effect. And if you think that we need to amend the law, like for example in 8545, the 72,000 is not practical anymore. If you factor in inflation, that will double to 140,000. No? So it's impractical for DepEd to impose the 72,000 cap because no one can comply. No? I mean, everyone can comply. Tataas yan, no? On the other side. No? So suggest to us also what do you think we should do to amend the law, because we're also doing some finishing some proposals to amend the E-GASPE law, the 8545. Dr. Carol, and I think we have friends from PBED who's also here, so we'll call them after.
Yes, sir. Just a question to DepEd po sana. Kasi a lot of the provisions in 8545, it always provides for a state assistance council that is supposed to adjust whatever initial, I guess, amounts or provisions or formula or guidelines. It's supposed to set tuition fee supplements, implement an equalization scheme on distribution of slots, additional slots, and additional participating high schools, identify private schools participating in inset, formulate measurement standards for the evaluation of quality, assess the effectivity of the programs, establish criteria to determine which secondary schools should enroll students. Under 8545, the SAC should be chaired by the Secretary, co-chaired by CHED and TESDA, and members from NEDA, DBM, DOST, and representatives from duly organized nationwide associations of teachers, students, parents, and school administrators, and also including the Senate and House Committees on Education as resource persons. May we inquire how this has been implemented and who functions as the SAC, and who then has made the decisions regarding all of these provisions that under the law, they are tasked to be the ones to provide guidance on and direction?
Was this ever created? From my interaction with DepEd and also based on the hearing, this SAC is now DepEd. You know, DepEd is the de facto SAC, no? But was this ever created? Because it's in the law, no? Therefore, it should be functional. But what is the situation right now of the State Assistance Council?
As far as I know, Mr. Chair, the State Assistance Council has not been convened for a long time. With regard to the question of Sir Carol, when it comes to the decision, it's always an ad referendum. Yung magbibigay na lang po kami ng document from the DBM to the NEDA for them to approve. But really, convening the council has not yet been done. I'm not sure when was the last time. However, Senator, since this was already as well provided in the special provision, the GASO already reached out to the DBM, to the NEDA, to all the members, asking for their primary and alternate representative. Kasi usually po, pag hindi pwede yung primary, hindi na makaka-quorum. So, we added there na pwedeng mag-provide ng alternate so that we can already convene. As to the representatives from duly organized nationwide associations of teachers, students, parents, and schools administrator, we are reaching out to each of the organizations because as we understand the law, they have to recommend among themselves sino po yung isang representative nila to SAC. So that also requires coordination with all the organizations of the schools, the parents, and the administrators po.
So you're doing referendum by way of to reach a decision
Yes,
right
yes,
now, and
Senator.
that's an active referendum.
The last that we requested was the increase of ano yun? Pero hindi na-approve yun eh. Okay. The last referendum was the increase in the teacher salary subsidy from I think 10 to 18,000, Senator.
Yeah, I would I'm open to just collapsing the SAC and give it to DepEd. Sometimes all of these bodies are just takes time to be honest about it. And I know DepEd is already sitting in how many boards? Parang more 100 yata for sure, no? So if we can do it more efficiently by giving DepEd that authority, that power, I'm open to that, no? And maybe that's also one of the recommendation that we can propose to amend the law. Yeah, go ahead, Asek.
Mr. Chair, dahil hindi siya ganun ka-active yung SAC, yung SAC natin, kaya sa DepEd na-create actually yung GAS composite team, which is yung membership niya are execom members of the concerned strands or bureaus para maggawa ng mga decision if there are issues and challenges that arise relative to GASP. But in the first quarterly meeting that we had with the private schools sometime in January, which was presided over by the Vice President Secretary, lumabas talaga yung issues on the amount of voucher. And it was specifically stated in the law na ang magdedetermine talaga niyan is the SAC. That's why as a consequence of that meeting, we were already advised or directed by the secretary to reactivate the SAC. So we have started writing to the specified members of the SAC, including the representations from the students, parents, and teachers. So hopefully within the first quarter, we will be able to finally have the recomposed SAC for this administration.
Again, I'm open to just abolishing this and giving it to DepEd. So it will be decision making should be fast.
Yeah, that is why
Decision
we
making
have
should be
the GAS composite team that was created a few years back.
Just
Mr.
recommend to
Chair.
us. Just weigh the pros and cons and recommend to us.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Thank
Any comments from PBED or TESDA? I think TESDA is.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Yung implementation po ng GASP ng TESDA, it is one of our program, yung PESFA or yung Private Education Student Financial Assistance. And we are, ang yearly allocation po nito is only 200 million. Doon po sa guidelines ng implementation po namin, malinaw po yung eligibility requirements for those beneficiaries na undergo ng training sa PESFA, which is dapat po is yung income po nila, so dapat po high school graduate or completer, and then with annual family income not exceeding 300,000. So minomonitor po ito, and ang requirement po na needed is yung submission po ng ITR, and then yung or certification from barangay that the household income is not more than 300,000.
Ito bang PESFA, ma'am, under the Unifast law, it should be the Unifast that should be administering the PESFA.
Ang ano lang po sa Unifast kasi is yung aming implementation ng diploma programs under the UAQT. Ito pong PESFA kasi is under the GASP law. So
Okay.
hindi po siya nadidiscuss or hindi siya included dun sa Unifast.
Any comment?
Yeah, I
Dr.
think, Mr. Chair, in the original intention of the Unifast law, it's really meant to rationalize all government subsidies and scholarships that are relating to students. Pero I think they have been less able to do that primary function given their need now to focus on implementing free tuition and RA 10931. So I think it is something that they said in my informal discussion with them that they are working towards this year to really going back to that mandate and being able to do that function also, which would include PESFA and actually all of these subsidies.
Fortunately, we don't have any member from Unifast. Unifast is not here, but we'll coordinate with Unifast as to aligning these programs, because in my understanding, under the Unifast law, all post-secondary scholarship program will be under Unifast, including certificate courses. All right. Any comments from PBED?
Hi, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. So, PBED actually believes that GASP is a very sustainable solution for decongestion in public schools. It also allows us to provide very good quality education for students here in the Philippines while maximizing the resources of private education institutions. And of course, especially now when CHED already closed its doors for SHS students, we believe that GASP is the key for this situation, and we fully support the expansion of the program itself, but of course with proper implementation. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any more comments from the body, from COA, from DepEd? Any more comments? None? Dr. Carol?
Sir, just the last one that we've already raised to DepEd is the recognition of SHS programs. Kasi they are not currently, they don't go through PEAC's usual certification processes because there is still no guidelines to actually recognize SHS, and up to now, they still receive provisional permits, and this has been going on since 2016. Just to request for information on the timeline, because I know that they are working on a policy, but as to at what point that will be released, because it will help us also quality assure the SHS receiving students among private entities.
Yeah.
Any suggestion or any talk within DepEd just to have one program, whether ESC or voucher program? Because we have ESC for junior, we have voucher program for senior. But the voucher program came about because of K to 12, diba? It was meant to use literally the excess capacities of tertiary education institutions. But now that's not there anymore. We maintain the voucher program as a way to give the power of choice, hopefully prioritizing first the marginalized and then moving to the different types of learners. No? But is there any discussion to merge it so that we only manage one type of program? And in fairness to the ESC, it also looks at quality as an indicator, which is important. No? Again, we give out government funds, so we have to make sure that the government funds go to qualified recipients, no? Whether it is the school or the student, but they should be qualified. No?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there have been various discussions actually and committee hearings po under the basic education in the lower house. And in this latest version of the lower house po na House Bill, expanding the GASPE, they're actually expanding it to kinder to 12 and then only the voucher na lang po siya, hindi na po siya per slot basis. So that would give us the ano po DepEd the decision of whether itong mga person na learners na ito are really the ones that we are targeting. In fact, in the latest version of the bill as well, Mr. Chair, nandito din po yung sinabi na lower income na mga families as determined by the PSA. So nandito din po yun, Mr. Chair.
Easier to administer, the ESC or the voucher program? The ESC kasi follows the school, but the
Yes,
voucher
that's
follows the
right.
student. So
Mm-mm.
which is easier to manage?
I think
On the part of DepEd,
on the
because
part
kayo magmamanage, it's not
Mm-mm.
man kami. So
Siguro, Senator Win, just to really address the student na priority talaga natin, it would be best to do the voucher.
Mr. Chair, with regards to the first
Yeah.
question of Dr. D, we actually have created third quarter of last year the senior high school task force really to review the implementation policies and programs related to senior high school, including possible revision of the senior high school curriculum. And the task force is due to submit its report this May. Yeah, so hopefully when it will be reported, part of it would include the recognition guidelines for senior high schools, which admittedly, since nag-issue kami ng provisional permit at the start of the offering hanggang ngayon, hanggang provisional permit pa lang sila. So it looks like perpetually, after perpetually, nag-ooperate pa sila because we don't have yet the recognition process for the senior high schools.
recognition guidelines dictate quality, correct?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair.
So it's important that I mean that's the first step to that's a determinant of quality. Yeah.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, we agree. That is why that part of the discussion in the senior high school task force is really to how to go about assessing the quality of the suppliers or offerers of the senior high school program in the
Yes.
private sector.
But going back to that ESC or voucher in our internal discussion, ESC is easier to administer. You know, I mean, sorry, the voucher program is easier to administer because you give the voucher to a congested school and let the student go to a private school that can accommodate them. However, in terms of targeting, the ESC is better because you can target the location. No? For example, if this school is congested, you target the nearest private school and give them slots. No? So there are pros and cons. There's pros and cons. So that's why I'm asking the implementer to suggest to us what is a better program to implement. Because in my opinion, we should just have one program. Whether it's ESC or voucher program, we should have one program. Both has its pros and cons. You know, so I want to get the opinion of the implementer as to what do they prefer in terms of program, bearing in mind that the direction is to decongest, to prioritize the less fortunate.
Oh, yes, we will do that, Mr. Chair. We will place that as the first order of business for the newly created and approved staffing pattern, a staffing complement for the government assistance and subsidies office, which was already approved and will start to operate formally as a with plantilla position. So that will be first order of business for the GASO, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Legaspi, you were raising your hands.
Mr. Chair, in line with the CHED's role in implementing GASP law, E-GASP law, kagaya po kami ng TESDA, we also do the PESFA. We have a 1 billion allocation. Ang aming pong recording ay 2020, right? We were given 1 billion to allocate slots for the PESFA. Ito po ay under the CHED Merit Scholarship Program. So it's a competitive grant. They also need to submit proof that they belong to the 400,000 annual income or below na family, and then they have grades to maintain. Meron pong full scholarship. We call that the full PESFA Merit Scholarship. They receive 120,000 a year. Yung half po, the scholars receive 60,000 pesos per academic year. But they should enroll in priority programs that we give out the announcements every year. So pag nag-enroll po sila, specifically for PESFA, meron po kaming mga allotted slots na binibigay, and at the same time we evaluate the credentials also, specifically also about the income of the family. And another thing, Mr. Chair, about the other related scholarships that were supposed to be under E-GASPE first, yung pong study now, pay later plan. This is also a big challenge because we stopped giving this out, or we stopped the implementation of study now, pay later plan last 2018 because it's very difficult to ask them to pay back. Napakalaki pa po ng collectibles ng sa study now, pay later plan. We have due and demandable around 405 million pesos na hindi pa po nababayaran. So yung pong two programs na yun under CHED in relation to the implementation of E-GASPE law are the ones that we are implementing. So our position, our suggestion, when we were asked to give our comments for this particular resolution is as much as possible if we could try to analyze again, we would like to give feedback as to the implementation of the study now, pay later plan. Baka po eventually we'll have another, to create instruction or law na pwede bang i-write off na lang yung utang ng mga estudyante natin na yun na hindi na nakakabayad as far back as 1995 po nag-start ang program. So 1995 to 2017 po, there were around 12,478 borrowers. Only around 2,000 plus were able to pay back partially or fully. So we would like also to manifest that this one particular program be looked into. Last year po, when we were also asked about this, we were asked to give particulars on this. So we are very much willing to submit the data on the study now, pay later plan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's one thing I want to remove from the law, that study now, pay later. Because it's study now, never pay. It's a study now, never pay plan. No? And in fact, I don't believe in yung mga student loan. I don't believe in that because nobody pays. And it becomes a burden to the government. Especially, makukuha ho kayo. Diba? So, I would rather just give a subsidy and then return service. No, I think that's a more practical approach because it's really hard to collect, and people know if it comes from the government, it's almost impossible to collect. Impossible talaga, no, impossible. So, anyways, any more last comments before we suspend the hearing? So, hearing none, we have a few items for DepEd to accomplish. And this is based on our discussion earlier. The revised guidelines to prioritize congestion and equity. I think we have already proven that during the course of the hearing. We won't put a timetable. No, I want DepEd to just submit to us a timetable to that effect, but I won't put a timetable so that you can discuss internally. Then also earlier we discussed about DepEd's relationship to PEAC in relation to the audit and also policy making. We need to settle the issue of COA regarding auditing auditing PEAC directly or auditing the submissions coming from PEAC. That should be settled by DepEd being the chairman of PEAC. And then we also requested from BARMM some data regarding classrooms and congestion. We want to request from PEAC the list of schools that engage in ghost beneficiaries or this type of activities for the last 3 years. No? We want to see the trend. I'm actually curious on who are these schools, what's the gravity of the of their violation. Just submit to us data to that effect also. And then we want to request from DepEd recommendation as to what to amend in the law in 8545. Please submit to us those recommendations. And Senator Raffy Tulfo also requested from PEAC the dropout rates. I read somewhere, I think I read it in the COA report, the completion rates are also an issue, no? 75%, no? So we want to just submit to us the last 3 years, no, of the completion rates. All right. And also the other pending items from DepEd, for example, the recognition of the senior high school. I won't put any hard dates for now, but just bear in mind that those are requested by the committee. The sooner, of course, the better. All right. So with that, we'll suspend the hearing for now. We will review the remaining items in the resolution, and also we'll wait for the submission from DepEd and the other stakeholders. If we need to continue, then we'll call for another hearing on this topic. So maraming salamat po. This hearing is hereby suspended.
Thank you very much, Senator Win.